Hello, everybody. We are here with the one and only WtiiWarcraft, an orc, a peon, and more. We're here to talk about everything Witty, everything Warcraft, and so on. So, how are you doing? How is
I'm
Reforged
doing
treating
quite
you?
well. Uh, that's a difficult question. How does someone answer a question like that?
Yeah,
Does
maybe.
anyone have a good answer to the Reforged question? I mean, it's been an interesting experience, that's for sure. I'm doing well. I'm still getting by with Reforged. It hasn't really stopped me, so I can't complain on that front. But yeah, it could be better.
I mean, how it indie game company Blizzard. You. I
Well,
feel like we
multi-dollar
got
company, innit?
yeah multi-dollar company. We got what we expected. So, I feel like you're an absolute legend in the Warcraft scene. Like, when did you get into Warcraft? I guess almost more importantly, when did you start streaming, or why did you start streaming? Because you've been on the platform for I think probably longer than anyone I've scouted out.
Quite a long time, yeah. I think it started back in 2010. February. Started off with StarCraft 2, actually, strangely enough. Some people obviously think it is originally Warcraft where I began, but technically StarCraft 2 had just essentially begun its beta stage. One of my very first videos, in fact, my first video is essentially me talking about the beta options in a very boring fashion, going over each and every single option shown on the screen, because I just wanted to show people what was happening with StarCraft 2. And then it evolved into me playing the game and showing clips of me fighting one versus one, and then build orders for like StarCraft 2, how to get loads of roaches. And then that eventually evolved into me going, you know what? I love StarCraft 2, but I just enjoy playing Warcraft 3 more. So next time I play Warcraft 3, which I do and have done since I ever started playing it in the first place, I'll record a gameplay or so. And my very first sort of 4 versus 4 RT gameplays and 131, etc., went onto the Witty 1 channel, which is where it originally started. And it kind of took off from there, really. I think a lot of people really got into the Warcraft 3 gameplay more so, possibly because I was just more enthusiastic about playing it. So I think that may have come across in the videos themselves, me being excited to actually play it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed StarCraft 2, but not on the same level as Warcraft 3. I mean, Warcraft 3 is always like by far the nearest and dearest to my heart in that regard. So then I started to delve into custom games, dodgeball, UFA party, and melee request. Well, actually, I say melee requests. This is kind of before I think maybe they even existed properly. I used to just have strategies that people would ask me to do, and I would just go out of my way to try to do them, such as, for example, an alchemist with six. Uh, what is it? 6 periapts of vitality. That's it. So he's like an absolute beast, and the AV team had to try to take him down. So I'd say I was doing that on the Witty One channel for quite a while, but I'd also still like to play the other Blizzard properties, such as Diablo, which came out in 2012, the Diablo 3. I actually uploaded Diablo 2 footage. I don't watch that because I'm terrible at Diablo 2. I really wanted to have another go at Diablo 2 because I did such a bad job of it the first time round. Diablo 1 and Heroes of the Storm. And that's where the Witty Warcraft channel kind of comes in. That began at 2014. So Heroes of the Storm had come out recently, and I'm putting like Warcraft 3 content, StarCraft 2 content, Heroes of the Storm content, Diablo 3 content onto this Witty One channel. And like some people can get away with it, I think, and have multi various different games on their channel, and it won't hurt their views, etc. But I think what it did was it conflicted, and some people would be like, "Oh, I subscribe to this channel to watch Heroes of the Storm. I subscribe to this channel to watch Warcraft 3. Why are you putting this up when I want to see this?" And therefore, it evolved into me creating a second channel called Witty Warcraft, a dedicated Warcraft channel. So it has got some Warcraft 2 in it. It's got a bit of World of Warcraft, but generally speaking, it's World of Warcraft 3. And so 2014 is roughly the time where I started streaming. I'm pretty sure it goes back to that far. If it isn't that far, then it's got to be between 2014 and 2016. And yeah, daily videos basically since 2014 on WtiiWarcraft.
So WtiiWarcraft was your second channel, like the other channel that you
Yeah.
have? Huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I checked. I got 1,361 videos of Warcraft 3 on the Witty 1 channel before I moved on to WtiiWarcraft. So I'd put up over 1,000 videos of Warcraft 3 on the Witty 1 channel before it sort of got to a point where I need to dedicate it.
It's Blizzard games all the way through. Do you ever regret that
Yeah.
in today in 2020 with all the
Yeah.
Blizzard games failing?
It's strange. I don't consider myself like a Blizzard fanboy. I don't really consider myself a fanboy of anything in particular, but you would easily be able to call me one because I have effectively played pretty much every single Blizzard game. The Rock and Roll Racing, Blackthorn, Lost Vikings, Starcraft, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Starcraft 2, Warcraft 3, like all of them. Apart from that Warcraft Adventures game, I don't know if you heard about that one. There was a Warcraft Adventures game that they kind of scrapped and they never really brought it out. It was
Really?
like a point and click adventure
Huh.
RPG. It had Clancy Brown voicing Thrall. So you can actually look it up on YouTube, and that's what I ended up doing because it's such a janky game. I thought I can't bring myself to play this thing, but I can happily watch someone else play it.
Did you ever have any hopes like Warcraft 4? Did you ever think it was going to happen?
Um
Or is that what we have right now?
oh, that's very good point. Very good observation. I think Blizzard were obviously testing the waters a little bit, but if they were testing the waters, then surely that means there's going to be no Warcraft 4, judging by how the response has been to Warcraft 3 Reforged. So it does make you a little bit concerned about the future of Warcraft. But at the same time, it could be a case that they can learn from their mistakes. But again, you say 2020 Blizzard is obviously a different Blizzard. So do they learn from their mistakes these days as opposed to the old Blizzard of old that probably would have taken more feedback? Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot Overwatch and Hearthstone. So of course you got those games that were on the Witty 1 channel. So yeah, there's a whole plethora of Blizzard games that I've played, and Warcraft 3 is of course the one that I have the most of. Far too many games.
I
And
mean,
there's still more trash TDs to play.
yeah, exactly. There's always custom games on custom games in every genre. Do you what have you been enjoying lately?
I really have been enjoying going through trash TDs. Like Pracky is a friend of mine, and we used to do Tower Island together. And he has been playing Warcraft 3 as long as I have, except he doesn't play it anywhere near as much as I play it. And he's stopped a long time ago. But back in the day, back in the early 2002, 2003 point, he downloaded a bunch of maps and played them. And I managed to get a hold of that folder that he had. So I've been going through this folder of
Oh,
map
really?
after map after map of these really old janky tower defenses, hero survivals. Like they are just bare bones, really not balanced well, barely tested. But I've been having a blast doing it, and I think like the community enjoy it as well because you can sort of just have a bit of fun, sort of essentially trying to work out how to beat these maps that aren't even probably beaten by the person that created them in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to go through maps that are like a decade old plus and just be like, huh, like this is a bit of history here.
Yeah.
I feel like since Reforged though, TDs there have been like quite a few tower defense games that have like come out since Reforged, like Pumpkin TD and stuff. I don't know if you're a fan of
Yeah,
those.
there's the blacksmith as well, which is like the next one on from Pumpkin, but I haven't actually delved into blacksmith too much. I managed to beat Pumpkin recently, so it will be time to move on to blacksmith soon. I really enjoyed Farm TD. I was very obsessed with that for a long time. And there's Digimon TD, which is I think it's all kind of done by the same guy or almost. Some people have made use of the reforged assets, and you can tell that because you can see the UI change, and obviously it forces you to play with reforged. Which is funny because I hosted like some of these maps that are like for Reforged specifically, and then there's people in my community that are trying to join, but of course they can't get into the game because they refunded their Reforged, so they can't even get into the lobby to actually join the game.
Yeah, this is like a pretty easy question. Or what do you think about Reforged graphics?
Ooh, I want to like it, but I don't. I think
Great
something that could
answer.
soothe me and enjoy the graphics would be the frame rate. I think if the frame rate could be actually, more than 30, it might be easier to enjoy them. But it wasn't the direction I was looking for. I've done a big video about all of this, but the problem is we didn't really have Samwise Didier working on it, which is why I think Heroes of the Storm models are very closely resembled to the Warcraft universe, the Warcraft feel, the Warcraft vibe. Whereas the recent art director for the Warcraft Reforged project, who I think left within like a month before the game actually came out, but he obviously did what he needed to do. Brian Salzer, he wanted to take it in a different direction. I remember some of the panels they were talking about. Ooh, you don't want this sort of old-fashioned graphics, the triangle polygons, all this kind of. Basically, you want this kind of like a newer, fresher take. You want more realistic, gritty-looking graphics. And I was like, do I want that? I'll see what you do with it, but I don't really want it. And as soon as I sort of saw footage, I was like, my first reactions can actually be seen. I don't know which video it was, but me initially reacting to the release on BlizzCon, I think it was 2018. I was like, I think my face kind of says it all a little bit. It's like they look like Taurens, they look like trolls, they look like shaman, but they don't feel like them.
Yeah, I think some of the models were like, I'm not gonna call them poorly done because I don't think they were poorly done, but they just like
Yeah,
don't mesh well, even
that's
in the
it.
Reforged tile set, like color patterns, whatever.
They had a big problem trying to get these new realistic looking gritty environments as well as models, animations to work in this old engine, which frankly doesn't support it. And I think that was such a strange move for them to go so heavily in. I think they basically made their mind up regardless of what was going to happen, because I feel like it used to be part of some other discords, and you get some information, and they had some people that worked on Reforge, I believe, from the Hive workshop team, or at least they helped out to try to help the people that were working on the game to reinforce the coding. But it's very stubborn code. I know nothing about it, but from what I was hearing and all this kind of stuff, all of this kept them knocked back, held back much longer than they would have liked to have been. So I don't think they could have actually optimized Warcraft 3 anytime soon. They would
Mm.
need a lot longer than the time that they released the game. It was pretty obvious from quite before they even sort of like started pushing Warcraft 3 towards early 2020 that it was not going to be ready. It was not going to be anywhere near smooth. I mean, the beta footage and all of that kind of showed that as well. People showing it off in the game. We're all getting like 20 FPS here, and it's like you got like a month or so left.
So everyone's coming back to Warcraft 3 like, "Oh my god, Reforge, I'm so excited." And you've seen the writing on the wall.
Yeah,
Reforge
it's harsh
is not going to be
because
great.
yeah, you gotta have all these people that had played the game, want to come back, may have heard of the game because they played World of Warcraft and wanted to check it out. And they didn't do any research. They don't know. They just assume Blizzard's going to do a good job, just like they did with the StarCraft remaster. And well, there you go. But then you see all these clips of people actually playing Reforged when it first come out, and they're getting disconnected from the campaign, and their campaign progress isn't being saved correctly, even though it's like they're in single player. They played it on hard, but it doesn't accept that and thinks it's done on normal. I even completed the campaign completely on hard difficulty, but I couldn't unlock the portraits that would be unlocked if you did it on hard difficulty, because it didn't think I did it on hard difficulty, because during one of those levels in the bonus campaign, I disconnected in single player.
Yeah,
So
I had a similar issue. I actually couldn't finish the campaign. Like it just stopped working. I don't know what it was about it, but like I couldn't launch a mission. It would just like I tried to launch the mission. It was like
Yeah.
the first undead mission or the last human mission, and then it would just go back to the mission screen, and then I just gave up, and I was like, all right, I guess we're not playing the campaign.
Yeah.
Maybe it works
Yeah.
now.
It should, but I think a lot of people had that problem as well, and yeah, it just killed it completely for them. Like they would have just given up there and then. So like all these sort of people that could have got back into Reforged and replenished the game in that aspect, they're kind of like, well, this is rubbish. I'll see you later.
Yeah, so you were in the thick of it, especially when Reforged came out. Do you have any like?
Yeah,
Did you have any like great like first reactions where you were like what was the Reforged drop like for you? Playing the campaign, all
Reforged
these
drop.
people coming by, being like, was it good? Were you
I got so much flack. It was
oh
really that initially, to be honest with you, is the amount of feedback I was getting like during my streams of people just complaining about the game non-stop whilst I was trying to play through the campaign. I was like guys, I'm made a decision to sort of see this through, and I'm gonna do all of the campaigns on the hardest difficulty. We're gonna stream that, or we're all gonna get that onto YouTube, and I wanted to do that as fast as possible, as hard as possible. So I spent like 3 days basically playing for like 18 hours straight or so, just going very hard on because obviously the campaign is freaking massive. So I knew basically not only from myself of playing it, sort of subtly realizing the FPS isn't correct or the models don't look right, and the portraits in particular have this kind of weird kind of teal gelatine Vaseline sort of like around the models. It's supposed to be like a stroke or something like that when you're using like Photoshop or something. You sort of emphasize the outline or the border of a character, but in Warcraft 3 Reforged, it just looks like someone's poured like ectoplasm on the characters or something, and they're so stilted, they don't move. I think even going back to like the beta footage again, it's like that was a bit of a giveaway. It's like someone showing off the Mountain King, and I'm used to the Mountain King like he's thrown his face around, his beard is moving up and down. But in like Warcraft 3 Reforged, it was showing this Mountain King and his face like barely moves. It's just so still. And like you can hear the voice lines, move it, give me something to do. But he's just like so stilted. There's no personality there.
I heard something interesting a couple days ago. It was pretty recently. Somebody told me he was like Russians, or I guess speaking broadly, Russians really hate Reforged because they changed the sound set, which
Yep.
Russians like have. This is what he said. Have some like very nostalgic attachment to. So like I don't know. I thought that was like kind of like a funny tidbit. It's like they even messed up like the sounds. Like they get so
Yeah.
much flack for Reforged, but like everything down to the unit like reaction sounds and all that.
You're right. That is absolutely true. The Russians, I got a lot of feedback from that as well.
Oh really?
They were very fond of the localizations that they currently had, which they say like Illidan sound better than the English one, and they have the fondness of their own, Illidan, their own Taronda, their own sort of like heroes, listening to their voices, and then Blizzard come along and now they go, it just doesn't sound right. It's all wrong. Like the voice acting sounds half-assed. And obviously, I don't know because I don't listen to the Russian equivalent, but I got a lot of feedback in regards to that. So yeah, it's they got screwed over on that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you so kind of tangential, but so map making. I mean, like I'm a map maker. I know that I've watched many a stream where you're just like like inspecting maps. I've heard you have your own maps. You have
Mm.
little side projects or even fully fleshed out maps. The true
Bare bones at
bare
best. I've
bones
only
at
done a few
best.
maps, and yeah, my melee maps aren't really particularly impressive. They could be super improved. Custom games aren't particularly impressive. I think one of the first ones I made was this really obnoxious survival style game where you would have, for example, I think it was like 10 players on a map, and they'd spawn in their corners or sides of the map. And all around the outside of the map were mortar teams that were attacking every 0.5 seconds, and they were always attacking you or another player. And you had the ability mirror image to essentially save the aggro, so it would then focus someone else. And when you play this map through, it's complete trash because all the mortar teams are constantly attacking. You just hear this just constant explosions. I don't know what I was thinking when I made it. And yeah, I've done a couple, but I can't really trigger properly. So I'm very basic when it comes to that. I sometimes get some help with the triggering, but then I get overwhelmed because everyone else knows so much and they have all these tricks up their sleeve, and then I can't remember exactly what it is that I'm supposed to even doing to trigger. So I was trying to make this map recently called Pig Escape because I like pigs, and it's essentially like an obstacle maze slide style map where you got to get from A to B without getting hit by the projectiles that are going from side to side on the screen. So like a Frogger style scenario, and that still exists, but I haven't touched it in like months now. So I'm never going to get any of these maps done, but I like and appreciate people that can in that sense.
I'm getting stoked for Pig Escape. So
It could
there's
have been great. Could have been great. I've done a lot of
still
the
can be.
terrain. I've done a lot of, like, the terrain and the ideas. So I sort of like I got this graph paper so I can draw down like the mazes, how it's going to look, and then sort of implement that into the world editor. And I have fun doing that part. But like I say, the triggering, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to the triggering. I can just do the best basic stuff. So it never comes to fruition because obviously maps need good triggering.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's like it's pretty crazy with the new natives they added like 2 years ago. You've probably played some maps. Like there's some crazy UIs now. Like people are like making like
Yeah.
real games in custom games. Not that they weren't real already, but
Hmm.
there's some cool ones.
Yeah. Was it Custom Hero Legends? I know that's got a really cool UI where you can see the shop and all the items, and you can hover over it with your mouse to purchase the items. You click on the ground, it's all displayed essentially. Um, Tug of War, played that very recently. It's called Direct Strike. It's supposed to be based off a StarCraft 2 custom game that
Yeah,
has
Lord Damage does great work, dude. That guy's
yeah,
so smart.
it's loads of hard work put into that. You can tell because there's so many buttons on the UI that show everything, and it's like, oh, I can look into more detail here. Oh, it shows a picture of a shaman, and I click on the shaman. Oh, what's this shaman do? And you just couldn't access that in like before Reforged. So the potential of Reforged could have been great. I think it's the graphical design that they went with that kind of really screwed the game over. They just stuck to its freaking roots, man. It's like, seriously, the game was great. The game is great. You had a great thing. All you had to do was just basically re-release the damn thing with sharper graphics. Essentially, I would have taken the old graphics easily, just sharpen them up. Have you seen the Priestess of the Moon zoomed in? It's not a pretty sight. She's got like 4 polygons on her face. But you could have made like a few additional efforts to sort of implement classic style models, as people have done. If you've seen them on like Hive Workshop, there's really cool models out there, like Lord of the Rings style models, or Gul'dan just having that much more personality to his face because he's got a lot more sort of shape to it. And they just had to go with that sort of original Samwise Didier look, I think, and just re-release the game. I mean, it really isn't that hard, but somehow they managed to go so wrong on that.
So there's this really cool project. I don't know if you've heard of it or seen it. Motion Sense put me onto it. It's called the Hive World Editor. I think it's been in development for a while, but they're getting closer to a release that um, can use Reforged graphics or is able to, process like a map on this patch. And it's so crazy how well the editor runs. Like
Yeah.
you can be you can have a map open in that editor, have like thousands of Reforged models, and it just runs perfectly. Like it's like incredibly smooth. As soon as you launch the game, obviously you're gonna go down to like 1 FPS, but I would definitely recommend like just if you can find motion sense to like get it working for you, it's pretty phenomenal. Like just it's crazy how like Hive Workshop or just the community is able to put out their own tools that are better than Blizzard's tools.
Yeah, that's happening everywhere there. I didn't know about like the Hive workshop world editor
I would
because
recommend checking it out. It'd be a good video just being like, look at this world editor, look at our
damn
world
man.
editor, and just damn.
Yeah, that'd definitely be worth checking out sometime to see like the differences and what's been implemented.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Um, so like you've played a ton of custom maps from streaming and doing YouTube over the years. Do you
Yeah.
remember like any like of like the worst maps you've played? Like serious. Like the map was intended to be serious and you played it through and you were just like, this is absolute garbage.
I'm normally really bad when it comes to memory of these kind of things. Maybe it's partially because I'm just getting older. Maybe it's partially because I burn those memories because of how bad they are. But I do have a list. It's like sort of like my favorite maps, or maps to be removed. Just
Maps to be
the maps
removed.
that didn't quite make the cut. Like there's a Bomberman that just. I loved Bomberman when I was growing up as a kid. I had a copy of that. It was great, but it just doesn't transition very well the way they've done it. There's loads of maps of Warcraft 3. Some not so good as others. I can't really pick too many off the top of my head that really stand out, but I can tell you I played like hundreds that would be regarded as trash. It's just they all kind of meld together in a way for me.
Yeah. What about the best map you've played? Well, maybe best
Oh,
couple.
I
Favorite
think
map, something like that.
I honestly think Legion CD might be my favorite map because I just genuinely think I can keep coming back to that map and still get like a fun experience because it's got a really good dynamic of balancing value of the units. So making sure you have enough units to defend versus the oncoming wave, but also the added mechanic of how far can I push greed and get extra money. So if you can just about survive the wave, then you can probably push some more greed, or you can just play it safe and put an extra tower down or two. But then you're not making quite so much cash, and it just sort of that's always appealed to me in its nature. I've always enjoyed that. So Ufa Party was always a really big favorite of mine. I've played that to death, and Holy War is another one I really like. I actually found myself really getting into these auto battlers now. So I kind of thought, you know what? Why didn't Blizzard do an auto battler? You remember? Did you ever play like Teamfight Tactics or that Dota 2 one? Like they were all pretty well made, actually. I don't know really if they're sort of like doing so well now, but at the time they were very fun to sort of pop in and learn the builds, etc. So I think there's a lot of potential with that. I think it even started again in Warcraft 3. There was actually an auto battler, which is just like the team fight tactics. I'm not sure really which one came first, but yeah.
It was like Pokemon Legends. There's quite a few.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Pokemon Legends. That's a bloody hard one, that is though. I don't get that because I don't know Pokemon very well.
Yeah,
I
I
only
had the
really
same
played it in
problem.
like the first year. And then I was just like, what's this Pokemon do? What's this Pokemon do? Oh, I'm just going to sell this one. And everyone will go mad at me. Go, oh my God, he just sold a legendary Pokemon. I go, I don't know.
I love it. So melee,
Hmm.
as we custom gamers like to call it. Did you
I
ever
called it
consider?
Melee for the longest time.
Yeah, I think they don't call it melee anymore. I don't know why. I think
It should be Melee.
yeah, but I was talking to like because I started getting into ladder, and
Yeah,
I think they like turn, they turn like look at you like what is melee? Oh, it's what we're playing.
that's right.
Is the pro career coming? Have you ever are you considering the transition to defeating Happy?
Never.
Never.
I've played against him before and it's pretty brutal. So I mean I think he just toys with you a lot of the time.
Oh
I've
really?
always considered myself very competitive, and I am in a category where I could at least place myself above average, but I can also easily be very humbled by the people that are actually genuinely good at the game and can actually just operate and macro much more efficiently. I feel like my micro is pretty tight, but I just sacrifice my macro so hard. It's another reason why I sort of didn't do so well in Starcraft 2. I'd concentrate so much more on the micro aspect that I wouldn't pay attention to the fact that this guy put Dart Templar into the back of my base and I'm losing all of my workers. I did enjoy it. I played a bit of Warframe Champions and I did pretty well on that, but I'm a bad winner and a bad loser. And it tends to come off quite poorly on the stream as well. I do not like losing at all. And 1v1 in Warcraft 3 gets my blood boiling beyond belief. I'm genuinely very chill when I'm playing pretty much anything other than Warcraft 3 1v1. As soon as I start doing that, I go really mad. I'm a lot more tolerant of 4v4 RT these days, but back in the day, I used to get really annoyed at that as well. But that's because I took that very competitively. So I've enjoyed the competitiveness of it. It's addictive. I mean, if anyone can tell you, like, there's times where I will just not stop playing until I have got my justice, and my justice would be at least 50% win rate. So if I get off to a bad start in that day, you know I'm playing for like another 9 hours or whatever it's going to be. If I've got like 1 win and 7 losses, I'm like, right, I am not stopping here. And that's where this clip came from, because there's this customs clip of me going absolutely mental at one of my viewers because they just kept pestering me for customs over and over. And I'm playing melee. I'm in the mindset of melee. I'm a competitive person. I want to win. I want to get my justice. And I'm like, you want to play customs? You can screw off, basically. It's just like, it's not going to happen. If I've lost a melee game, I am not going to stop playing until I've got my win back. I'm terrible, really. So it's not healthy for me at all, but I do love it. I've actually had to uninstall the Warframe Champions because I was getting too into it.
Damn,
So
that's
yeah,
crazy. So
I do not take losing well in Warcraft 3 1v1.
you have the potential, you have the drive.
The drive, but also the thing that holds me back is I like to play the way I play, and it derives from 4v4 RT, because initially when I used to play way back in 2002 2003, I took random team very seriously. I actually didn't even delve that heavily into 1v1. I wasn't even that interested so much in 1v1. It was the 4v4 RT that really appealed to me, and I've picked up a lot of bad habits from that. Like, for example, when people say, for example, they go on these voice singing competition talent shows, and the judges will often say, you can sing, but you've picked up a lot of bad habits, and it's going to take a lot of work to fix that. So that's why we're not going to allow you to come through the next stage, because whilst you can sing, we just think it's going to be too much work to knock out those kinks where they sort of like they warble their voice when they don't need to, because it's just how they learn by themselves. Well, I've learned by myself to wing it like mad because of 4v4 RT, because anything can happen. It's very chaotic. I'm very good at sort of responding to, essentially, I'm reactive, but when it comes to committing to a strategy or doing the right thing, such as producing exactly the correct units or potentially getting more mortar teams, I will refuse, because I will stubbornly, pig-headedly go down my path of mass rifleman with my paladin or something like that, because that's just the way I want to play. And you can't get away with that versus the really good players in 1v1. You have to be able to adapt and diversify. And I just don't let myself do it in 1v1. I have a very stubborn style of play, and I think I'm not particularly suited to become great at 1v1 because of that.
That's fair enough. Is there a reason that your custom map requests? Is there a reason that the donation is 13.37?
It goes back to the old elite speak, because I'm an old man now. So that was he used to say 1337. That was elite move or something like that, Quake, etc. So when people sort of like pull off a nice move. So I just thought that was a nice number to go with. It's just sort of a little bit of nostalgia as well. So I don't know. It's not much to it other than that. I just thought, oh, think of a number. There you go. 1337 kind of does it for me. So it's nice to see.
Is Leet Speak gone? Have we gotten to this point?
I don't think so. I haven't used it in a long time. So you remember, like, in the old days of Warcraft, I don't think people do it so much now. I think people have more normal names for their accounts, but you used to have like Legolas or XXX, Legolas XXX. I remember people with like Warcraft 3 names, XX Shadow 69XX, and all of this kind of nonsense. You just don't really see that quite so much now, but they did used to have that.
Not enough characters.
But
There's a character limit.
oh yeah, that's right,
I
isn't
lost
there?
my
I
name.
think that came with Reforged.
Blade Master Rush
No, you
is
couldn't.
3 letters too long,
Ah, no, that's
right?
well. There you go. You can bring back the leet speak because you would do something like
Yeah.
BL4D MASTA instead of the ER. So you could sort of like probably get in there if you do a little bit of leet speak.
Yeah, just gotta pay Blizzard.
You don't have to pay it. Oh no, you do now, don't
Yeah, yeah.
you? Yeah. Oh god, I haven't done that. So yeah, luckily for me, Witty isn't a particularly long name, so I can get away with that.
But why Witty? Do you think are you a witty guy?
Ah, it comes across that way, doesn't it?
I
That sounds like egotistic, but I mean, like the
was waiting
people
for that
think the
punchline.
witty means witty, for example, being witty, being quippy, etc. But it actually derives from the Keeper of the Grove quote. Well, there it is. So I wanted
Oh.
something that was based in Warcraft 3 when I created my channel. So I created the Witty 1 channel back in 2010. And remember, I started with Starcraft 2, but it was still based on Warcraft 3 because that's sort of like where my nostalgia and where my sort of heart lied. So yeah, the Keeper of the Grove goes, well, there it is. And that's also kind of been like a motto that I've kind of stuck to. It's this kind of nonchalant, just accepting things for what they are. I don't really sort of get too held back or too deep into things. I was just like, okay, that just happened. Let's move on. Well, there it is. So yeah, it came from that.
That was deeper. I was expecting you to say, "Yeah, I'm a witty guy." It's
Yeah, I think it's just easier to tell people to say witty because that's how you would pronounce it. Because like if some people sort of like were unknown with me, they go WTII, sort of like yeah, they just sort of say it out loud and slow each letter, but you just have to pronounce it WT witty because that was the issue. Like I branded myself with witty, but then I realized after I'd done it, it's like, does it make any sense? Like, how do you even say this word? So the easiest way to say it is just to say witty.
do you have a preferred race? Is it night elf?
Me? No.
No,
Screw night elf.
I agree.
I like human. They're my favorite. But I can play all the races. I typically play random. But if I wanted to win or if I was having a losing streak, I would play either human or undead. Specifically undead if I really, really wanted to win because undead imbalance.
Undead and balanced. When I got into Warcraft, like I spent most of my time playing Warcraft 3, playing 4v4 RTs. I feel like human is just the most, at least to me, I felt like there was the most variety in 4v4 RTs.
There
Even
is.
like mass tanks, like it's definitely awesome.
Yeah. They got the most units and they got the most variety of units. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do with the humans. So yeah, your options are extended. And it's kind of strange because it's typically I actually prefer to sort of like stay to something more simple, such as, for example, like a micro-based mass headhunter, Torrent Chieftain, and just micro the units back and concentrate on spamming the same unit. But I still technically play human. It's this weird thing where I feel most comfortable playing human, even though technically it does not suit my playstyle because it's more for people that want to get a large variety of units to get the most out of the race. So it's I can blame a lot of losses based on that because I'm playing essentially the wrong race, even though I enjoy human the most.
Okay, this is
I
out
wish
of
I
the.
was better at Orc or Night Elf. I wish I was, but I'm not quite.
Orc is good. Orc, thumbs up
Hmm.
from Blade Master Rush.
You might like the Blade Master, yeah.
Yeah, I actually, when I chose this name long ago, I didn't even like playing Orc. I don't know why I chose it. I just got Blade Master
Hmm.
Rush one too many times. I actually played human.
Ah, that's where it came from then, because Blade Masters love a human base that's open.
Yeah, definitely.
It imprinted upon you.
So I heard, I might be wrong, and I don't remember where I heard, who I heard this from, or like when. Did you have a bird?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. So I have a bird. I'm a huge bird person.
All right. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
if
That was Joey. He featured in quite a few of my videos. So yeah, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he's very special. Awesome bird. Lived a very long time. Got away with that because they found out something was wrong with him, like back when he was like 8, 9 years old. But he ended up living to like 13. So yeah, we got 3 budgies now. It's
you have
got, it's got out of hand.
you have 3 budgies.
Yeah, it started off with 2, and they were supposed to both be boys, but then like this weird sex change kind of thing happened because birds can do that, where you think
Oh,
they're like a boy or something, but they're actually like girls. So then they're 2 girls, and then later on down the line, when we took the birds, the 2 girls, to the vets to like look after them, and found out that one of the vets is looking after another budgie called Chippy, and this Chippy's basically in the cage most of the day because she's out at work, and when she gets back, her boyfriend's sort of like at work. And she also had cats, so she wasn't like too keen on like their cats and letting him out the cage. So we ended up taking Chippy on board. So that's how we ended up with 3. So he's enjoying the life of having 2 female budgies
that's
to
wholesome.
try to chat up all day, every day. He
Was
doesn't stop.
was Joey a budgie?
Joey was, yeah, yeah. We've always had budgies. Benji was like the budgie before that. It was Charlie, and Smokey was like the first budgie because we never had budgies before Smokey. My mum ended up adopting this budgie called Smokey because the previous owner couldn't look after it anymore, and Smokey got really attached to my mum, and then since then we came kind of like a budgie family.
Damn, I love that. Yeah, I got a green cheek conure kind of out of the blue. I guess almost
Oh,
5 years ago now. But I love birds. I was just instantly a
hmm.
bird person.
They're very funny. They got their own little personalities, and it shows through each and every single one of them. Yeah, they're all different and they're all quirky. So yeah, they do keep you entertained, and that's why I think we got more of them as well this time because when we can't be around, like they sort of like can keep themselves company and whatnot. But otherwise, you'd have the radio on it, and that would also help to sort of like keep them company with the TV because obviously birds just like attention or they like something to distract themselves. So yeah, it's really awesome to come down and see them. Like I love doing that with Joey. I do like a Warcraft free stream or whatever, and then you come downstairs and Joey be sitting there and you give him lots of attention. It was yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes for me. Stream ends, go hang out with my bird.
Yeah.
I've heard you're a big fan of frozen pizza.
Yeah, yeah, it does the trick. It's my Saturday treat. So it does the trick. I don't see the reason to sort of like order pizza. I know a lot of people do. It's like, oh, I'm gonna order pizza. My pizza's coming, guys. 15 minutes. But I mean, how much does that cost you? A frozen pizza literally costs like £1, £2, and I don't even really notice that much of a difference, to be honest. As long as you just cook it, you don't burn it. Put on a bit of garlic bread. I've been having this Tesco deep filled garlic bread. It's really nice. It's kind of like a naan bread, but it's like garlic, and I just have half of that with my pizza, and yeah, delicious.
Do you have a favorite brand of frozen pizza?
I would probably say barbecue chicken is my favorite. I used to get a lot of those, but I'll take pretty much any pizza, even the dreaded pineapple. It won't be my first choice, but if there is a pineapple one, then I will eat it. There's no pizza that I can't necessarily eat. But meat feast is obviously a delight as well. Chicken and bacon.
So pineapple does not belong on pizza.
You don't think so?
Or no, I was asking you.
I mean, it probably doesn't, let's face it, because even when I eat it, and I can eat it, it don't taste right. But heck, enough people like it that they keep doing it. So
So I probed somebody of some maybe funny or interesting questions. I've heard about this. I think I've actually watched a couple of these videos. Will we unban X viewer? series.
Oh right.
Wondering
Yeah.
when that, like, what that started from.
That started from Will we unban Will. That's where it came from. Because it was like catchy. I was like, how am I gonna phrase this? And this guy's called Will. Will we unban Will? Because he's currently banned. And then it just kind of went from there. So I had a little funny picture for the thumbnail, some sort of like angry looking kid or something like that, and the big sort of red cross going through the face. You know, is he gonna get unbanned? Is he gonna stay banned? Are we gonna keep him locked up? So it derived. I keep using this word derived. I don't know why. I don't even normally use it, but there you go. It came from like being focused. I don't mind fighting a fair fight, but if I feel like someone's using an advantage against me, I will take it quite personally and hold a grudge against them. And there's people that do tend to use my stream to their advantage, and they'll stream snipe, or they'll conveniently be in a place, and if it happens slightly too many times, then I'll definitely pick up on it. They think I don't notice, but I do. I can notice very subtle movements because I played enough 4 versus 4 RT to detect all this kind of stuff. And yeah, he pushed his luck, and I had to put him in his place and ban him. But there was a silver lining. There was a hope that he could potentially get himself out of this sticky position and earn his armband by beating a challenge. And I think most of the time they started off as just like melee, make them fight against a computer or something like that, and then put in timed events, and then it sort of like went into custom games. So you got to survive Jurassic Park, the top left of Jurassic Park, for like the duration of the game, so you're not getting killed by dinosaurs and you're keeping yourself going. So there's a lot of opportunities for it. Racing maps, you know, there's quite a few maps you can make people play to get themselves unbanned. And it does happen from time to time that people do put themselves in a position to get themselves banned. I try not to ban too heavily. I try to keep it one person at a time if I can. It's always like people try to go out their way to get banned now in a strange fashion. But Death Knight is the current banned player, because I was trying to do a strategy on Market Square with a Tauren Chieftain where I get Kellen's Dagger of Escape and start destroying people's economy by blinking in with my Tauren Chieftain shockwaving. And he went ham on my base. He went full on Pit Lord, Fiends, went straight to my base, destroyed my economy whilst I'm trying to creep at the same time. And I was like, you just wasted my opportunity of, because Market Square only comes around once in a while. It's a fantastic map. It's a very specific request to get this map played and do this build that you can only do on this map. And he pushed his luck, and yeah, he's still trying to get himself unbanned.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like one ban at a time, one griefer. Put him through the
Yeah.
battle royale.
There's so many backseat gamers. Like they I mean, I think I'm quite lenient, really. I'd have more people banned if I didn't hold myself back.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't want to. I'm not like subtweeting, but definitely there's a lot of backseat Warcraft 3 chatters. I mean, especially if you drop into like a ladder or melee streamer, everyone's an analyst suddenly. As soon as that Twitch chat opens up.
Yeah, they all know exactly what needs to be done. The power of hindsight is pretty powerful. They go, you shouldn't have done that. It goes, all right, thanks for that information. Could have done with that beforehand. But it's funny how you didn't offer up that information beforehand. It's like, yeah, it's you have to be quite tolerant as a Warcraft 3 streamer, I find. I'm sure it happens with all games, but yeah, there's definitely something about Warcraft 3. Like, there's no stopping them. Like melee custom games, everyone knows what it is you're supposed to do, but not you. Apparently, you're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Part of the fun.
Yes. So the added flavor of streaming is getting that initial feedback all the time. The YouTube comments are worse. Like so many of them. It's like, I can't watch him play this any longer, and all this. It's like, come on, I can't be perfect at everything. It's like, oh, he doesn't know how to play this custom game that he's playing for the first time perfectly. It's like, what? What are you expecting from me? Like, come on.
Ooh, YouTube comments. That's a
Ugh.
great topic.
Even when you do things right, they're not happy. Like I can still win these games, but a lot of those comments will be people talking about how I still did things wrong. It's like, what? Just never happy. It just feels that way, you know? It's just like you're stuck with this person that's just constantly complaining. They're never happy no matter what you do. That's because you always pick up on the negativity. We're programmed as human beings to do that. So it picks up as a streamer, like as a YouTuber, you sort of you're focusing on these comments and you know that they're an idiot, but you can't shake that off at the same time. It's quite frustrating.
Yeah, like so I don't like I started doing Warcraft through YouTube after I started streaming, and I don't get too much like heat or people in comments telling me that I'm ugly and shouldn't be doing this or whatever. But there's always like maybe every week or 2 weeks there's somebody who just writes like, I can't even watch you play this. And I'm like, why would you
Hmm.
comment that? Like it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
make any
know. It's
sense.
really bizarre. I've never been that person that goes onto someone else's channel, YouTube, Twitch, otherwise, and just states something super negative, like it's my own personal opinion, like you're doing this wrong, or I hate that you're doing this. Like I've never understood that logic. It's not been something I've ever felt the need to go and do. If I disagreed with what someone was doing, YouTube or streamer, I would either just give some sort of comment with a critical analysis or just not comment at all. But a lot of people seem to have no problem with saying you're the terrible person, you're the worst person, or whatever it is, and then that's their comment. It's like, well, okay, like what do you want me to do with that?
So they're obviously very different, and I feel like there's no like clean or real answer to this. But do you prefer like creating content for Twitch or YouTube, or is there any like trade off where you're like sometimes you don't really feel like streaming and you'd prefer to edit, or because like for me, sometimes I prefer to do YouTube because it's like very offline. Like I get to just
Hmm.
kind of like chill in my own zone, like edit whatever. But I know that you
Yeah.
do both kind of simultaneously.
YouTube has always been the focus because even creating stuff on Twitch is essentially focused on what it's going to be on YouTube in many aspects. Twitch is really just kind of almost it is just essentially live TV. It's just switch this on. What will be will be. I'm actually like quite an organized person, but when it comes to like actually just playing video games or streaming, like my schedule, etc., I've never been the kind of person where it's like, okay, at this point we're doing this, 45 minutes from this point, we will be going into this. There should be a 15-minute break after that, and then we're going to delve into this. We should be hitting these points as well. I just play what I play, and that I end up getting frustrated sometimes. That people sort of like they used to sort of like, oh, what are you going to play now? What are you going to do now? And it's just be like, I don't know, man. I'm just going to play. That's literally just the beauty of Twitch is I just want to sort of just do whatever it is, and if people want to join in and play along, they can do so. So, but YouTube has I'm getting into more creative content as well. I used to sort of like do guides, etc., sort of like, and then that became harder to do, I think, because Warcraft 3 has kind of become a lot more complex since originally creating those guides. And there's so much to cover. And for example, if I would do a guide on like how to build as a night elf, for example, someone would inevitably say again, like in the comments, there'll be something like, well, you didn't mention how to deal with a demon hunter or a blade master doing this and that. And it's like, how many angles can you possibly cover? So when it comes to sort of like guides for melee, it's a lot more difficult because you're going to struggle to cover every aspect. But I had a lot of fun creating a quiz recently, and I'm going to
Yeah, I
be
was gonna
doing
bring
more of
that
that
up.
kind of content.
I checked that out. I was
Yeah.
like, you're making these quizzes. That seems dope.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Like everyone that's played Warcraft 3, well, not everyone necessarily, but most people have delved into the world editor at some point and played around with like the sound files, etc. And there's a lot of people that sort of like are familiar with Warcraft characters, even if they don't even play the characters or the game itself, because they just sort of hear it so much through other people playing or from just the world editor, and I like sort of like the weakest link custom game, for example, where players would have to guess which unit is speaking. And there's another one called Sound Factory, where you would have to type out the actual name of the spell that is heard, or the character talking, and you have to be the first one to type it out. So it's almost like a quick type, as quick as you can. So I kind of like that, because it's not as restrictive as making those guides for melee, for example. So it's going back to sort of, if I make this guide for melee, I've got to think about every angle I got to cover, and then I get so OCD about it that I just never end up doing it. I have like a bunch of unfinished projects because I just can't sort of get my head around how I'm going to cover every single aspect. But with the quiz, it's essentially my own creation. So it's just whatever I come up with, and that is what it is. Like, there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's a multiple choice quiz. These are the there is one answer to each of these questions. You can't really go too far wrong with that kind of template. So I really enjoy that, and I want to do more stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, hell yeah. I heard that you used to have a editor named High Rise.
Oh yeah.
Curious about him or her.
Yeah, he still pops into the channel from time to time. He was sort of like doing, he was essentially started off as like a viewer that was like very passionate essentially about what it was I was playing. And in the end, he sort of like mentioned that he would sort of like be interested in sort of like creating his own sort of videos based off what it was I was doing. So we would get to a point where it'd be like, oh, okay, I just played this sort of like this custom game where it's like a free-for-all survival, and you can, you know, do the FOD if you want. You can take it and then sort of do some editing and then put that onto the YouTube channel. So he might do 1 or 2 videos, and yeah, he would always put some sort of like little funny intro into it or clip some stuff, and he was pretty good at that. And I'm very much like my own control, though. I'm very controlling in regards to sort of my own channel. So whilst I sort of let him play around for that for a while, sort of got a bit more sort of demanding, I suppose, of sort of like what it was to do on the channel and the directions to take it. And then in the end, I just sort of ended up sort of taking the reins back, so to speak, because I've always wanted to do everything myself, because I know what I'm doing when I'm doing everything myself. Again, way back, we spoke about say for example the map editing. Now, I had people help me with the triggering, but the problem with that is I start to lose track of what the triggers are doing and how they work, because I don't know triggers very well. So then I just end up giving up on those maps because I'm not in control. I'm not doing those. So with the Warcraft free channel and just with YouTube and Twitch in general, I do like the Photoshop, I do all the thumbnails, I do all the descriptions. I just do everything myself. Like everything that is on the channel, that has been on the channel, that is related to the channels, I've all learned how to do that over time. And I kind of like am proud of that. And I just want to kind of keep it that way, even though it probably would be a lot easier just to have someone sort of like take on the reins of sort of like creating FODs, etc., and doing some edited sort of nice touches to the videos. But it just becomes difficult to keep track of, and I'm kind of OCD with keeping track of everything it is that I do. So I just prefer to have it under my own reins, under my own control.
I
So
resonate
yeah,
with
he's
that.
very much into,
I'm right
yeah,
there.
he's very much into World of Tanks High Rise. So he follows another British streamer who does that as well, as far as I know.
World of Tanks.
Yeah, I
Been a
never
while
got
since I
into
heard
that.
that.
I never got into those. But you know, there's always time. It's still going, apparently, I think.
Tank MMO. Who wouldn't love it?
Hmm. Be the Panzer then. That's probably the only tank I can name.
So can we will you ever do a 55-hour stream?
No, I don't think so. Unless I lose enough 1 versus 1 games, then I'll be close to doing a 55-hour stream. But
I
that
heard you
came.
did one a couple years ago.
That was was quite a while ago. It must have been 2014, 2015, 16
Oh,
when
even
WoD
further.
came out, Warlords of Draenor. I just went ham, and that that was an experience. It was actually really hard to do, not because you think it was necessarily hard to stay awake that long, but it was actually because the WoD experience was so bad. I don't know if you ever played World of Warcraft, but WoD, Warlords of Draenor, was one of Blizzard's worst launches ever. Massive lag, massive disconnections, massive waiting, doing nothing. Now, if you're trying to go on and stream for a long time or just play for a long time, you want to be distracted. You always want something you're doing. And that's how time flies. Everyone's been in that situation where they just keep playing another game, and before they know it, they've played for hours on end. With WoD, I was looking at like the lobby screen the most of the time, or trying to log in before getting disconnected. So that really made that experience harder because I was more aware of the fact that I was awake for so long. And there was a point in time where I couldn't actually play WoD, so I went back onto Warcraft 3, and I think this is actually right at the end of the 55 hours, the 54-hour mark or whatever. I ended up playing a few Warcraft 3 games. I won a 1 versus 1, which I'm surprised at, because in my head I was quite coherent. I was quite um capable. But the reality was, when you watch it back, I'm really slow. I'm really sluggish. I'm slurring my words. And I'm surprised I got anywhere. And then I play like this 4 versus 4 RT game. And that's the one I actually fall asleep in. And in my head, I was doing fine. But again, if you watch it back, I am just basically AFK in the base. I've got like 5,600 gold, which never happens. I've got this guy in my team getting mad because I'm not doing anything. And rightfully, he's getting mad because I'm literally just standing there. But I'm like, why is this guy angry? Like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. And then I just nod off. And it's the strangest experience because I watched myself the next morning when I got up, and apparently I slept walked. Like, it was really weird because I have no recollection of falling asleep.
So
But I
did
would have fallen asleep in my chair because I fell asleep in my chair during the game. But somehow my body sort of picked itself up, walked over to the bed, and then put itself down. And I went to sleep because I woke up in my bed. But you see me fall asleep in front of the camera.
I
So it's
mean,
surreal. I've never been in that situation.
you were up for like 50 hours straight?
I was up for actually 68 hours. But
That's
that was because I
crazy.
was doing this thing, yeah, because the night before I was going to do it, or the day before, whatever it was, I was like, I'm going to try to get as much sleep as possible. So it's one of these awkward things because unfortunately, Blizzard, they released the World of Warcraft expansions at 11 p.m. GMT. So I had to try to go to sleep at 12 in the afternoon. And I didn't sleep a minute of trying to be in bed for like 8+ hours. And I ended up just getting up and getting the stream set up and going
Powering
for it.
through.
So I was actually, yeah, I was awake before I even sort of started sort of like the 55-hour thing. So yeah, that was rough. But I count it as 55 hours because that's technically like 55 hours I was on the PC sort of playing it, but technically I was actually just lying in bed awake, not able to sleep because I was thinking about it so much.
That's impressive. Like, I definitely have done many a 24-hour stream and have stayed up like 30, 40 hours or whatever. And I just feel like at a certain point, like, it just gets hard to stay awake at like 30, 40 hours.
I
I can't
think
even imagine.
I've mentioned earlier, I'm pretty OCD. I've got like this kind of like it's a blend of OCD and competitiveness. I first stayed awake for 50 hours way back when I was like in my early 20s when World of Warcraft initially released because I wanted to be the first to level 60 on the server. And I remember sort of being awake for up to 50 hours
Like when WoW
grinding
first
harpies.
released. That's
Yeah, in
epic.
Feralas. Yeah, and this was like level 48. There's a bunch of harpies that you just kill over and over and over. And I was still awake at that point. I was just going and going and going. And then I kind of always had it in my head that I wanted to beat that record of 50 hours.
So
So I
that's
ended
where it
up
came
doing it.
from. That was
Yeah, it originally came from then. Because I wouldn't just normally go out of my way to say, you know what, I'm just going to do 55 hours for some reason at this point in time. It originated from then. I was like, yeah, I think I could beat that 50-hour record, but I have no intention to do it now. It just too much damage to your eyes and stuff like that. Like I couldn't see
yeah.
properly in the last bunch of hours. Like my eyes were so sore. I had to like, oh, it's like, even putting glasses on and just staring at the screen, like it was all blurry. It was so hard to focus on anything. If my eyes didn't hold me back and I was able to see, I could probably go on longer, but I couldn't. It just does too much damage.
You'll have to wait for an expansion worse than Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah. Well, it ain't Shadowlands at the moment. That one's quite good. So maybe next one. They normally have a good one and a bad one, and they sort of like do those over and over. So next one it is.
Legion, BFA, Shadowlands.
Yep.
Adds up.
So BFA was the recent one that didn't do so well. So whatever they're going to do after Shadowlands then.
So how are you enjoying Shadowlands? I played WoW like a bit. I'm not like super. I mean, I played in Legion. I got my eye level up. Like I was doing all the raids and stuff. I was gonna play Shadowlands eventually. Everyone's like, "Oh, play Shadowlands," but I just feel like I don't have the time right now. I don't know. I'm curious.
No, that's fair enough. It's hard to get back into modern WoW. I I totally sympathize with that. I stopped playing mid Legion and then hadn't played since that point, nor any in BFA other than leveling up to max level in BFA, and then I just quit. So I came back a couple of months ago, and it took me probably about a month to get back into the game because it felt like I was missing out on all these new systems that they've implemented. Because I very much found Classic easy to get back into because it's pretty straightforward, and I played it to death when I was a kid. So getting back into Shadowlands had been initially difficult, or at least BFA, like the end of BFA. But I wanted to set up for Shadowlands. And it's ended up being actually pretty good fun. I really enjoyed the leveling squish that they did. So all of my characters, I got each of every single character because, of course, again, OCD, have to have each and every single one. So leveling all those up to max level again is part of my ambition or goal, aside from playing the Warcraft 3 at the moment. So when I'm done with Warcraft 3, I'll just do some World of Warcraft either before or after, just experiencing what Shadowlands is. Not sure whether I'm actually going to do anything in it because don't necessarily have that many people to play with. Playing with Marcus at the moment, doing like some Mythic Plus, which is fun. It's like mini raiding, so harder mechanics, but you only need like 5 people. So that's really cool. Like retail has options for players to play on a solo aspect with Torghast, and it's definitely worth coming back to if you enjoyed World of Warcraft enough. But if you didn't care too much about World of Warcraft, or you just don't have the time for it, it's probably best to stay away because World of Warcraft's one of those games where if you stop playing it, again, this kind of goes for most games. If you stop playing it for long enough, you just don't have that itch anymore, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of what happened with the Warcraft 3 1 versus 1. I uninstalled the War 3 Champions. War 3 Champions is great. Like, that's fantastic. But for
Witty, we
me,
need
it
you
was
to
unhealthy.
defeat Happy. You were
I ain't
100%
gonna
needed.
happen. Happy's happy. I like Happy winning though. I think it's funny. Like everyone always wants him to lose because obviously it creates more diversity. But I think it's pretty freaking awesome that there is someone that is just so godlike that they are that hard to beat. It's like you look at his records. It's really really impressive. It's like looking at old school Warcraft 3 records back in the day. Except Happy doesn't cheat. Back in the day, you used to see these records of like hundreds and hundreds of wins and very few losses. And there's only really a few people that could potentially get that. But most people that did get that were obviously using some sort of program to alter their stats. Because you'd look at their win-loss ratio. This is before Blizzard even took away, I don't think you can even see profiles anymore. This is like before Reforged. You used to be able to see sort of like the time that people spent in like a 4 versus 4 RT game or 1 versus 1, and they'd have multitude of these 1 versus 1 games that lasted like less than a minute. And it's like, well, that seems a bit suspicious. Not sure how they managed to pull that one off, but they can do their own little shenanigans. But yeah, I like Happy being awesome at 1 versus 1 and just being a terror on the scene. I think it's kind of like this guy you've got to try to bring down. It's cool.
Yeah, maybe one day somebody will
All right, I think
grow into
if
their
they can
super
get
hungry.
the ping sorted between like the Asian servers and the European servers, then you might
They're close to
have
that.
more chance of that.
I don't know if you've heard about this. So
What's that?
War 3 champions. I was just talking with Floss, somebody who's like in cahoots at the top of that operation. They're making their own
Hmm.
host spots called War 3 Champions Flow, and
Right.
what that allows them to do is put a server anywhere. So if they want to do a tournament and have Happy play against somebody in New Zealand, they put the server square in the middle. But what's
Wow.
significant for customs is they actually eventually want to make host spots for customs, kind of like, I guess, the bots that we had back before the purge. And
Yeah, Ents and all that. Yeah.
yeah, and they were even talking about, I think this is a plan, like making a ladder for certain custom games like Legion TD.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. That would be awesome. There was someone else that was trying to do that. I was testing out their system, and I'm not sure exactly what came from that, but they did used to have the Ents host bots for Legion TD because I got into that for a while. It got quite snooty actually. It's amazing. You put any level of competition into something, and then everyone always becomes like like really salty if they lose, or really happy if they win. Like it's also, oh, I've got to win. I've got to get that 1600 plus so I can play with those players only. I don't know if you remember that, but they had like their own games for like 1600 plus players or whatever it was. So you have to go through the ranks of like beating all the other scrubs, the plebs, before you can get to that stage to play with the big boys. I think that would be really, really good because Warcraft 3 at the moment is a bit of a gamble. It doesn't make much sense because I'm from Europe. I host my custom games, and most of the time the ping is good. But then you have these odd days where every time I host a game, I've got 200 ping. I don't know why. Someone else hosts the game. They don't have 200 ping. We play with them instead. I have to use my viewers sometimes to help me out to, get a custom game actually played because you don't really want to play it with the 200 plus ping if you can help it. So it just doesn't make sense. Like you just have these days where almost it seems like my internet connection is connected to like the American servers instead of the European ones. But there's no real reason for that. And we still have these ping issues this day. Like if I play Melee and Warcraft 3, I'm just like, please don't be 200 ping. Please don't be 200 ping. But a lot of the games, they are 200 ping still almost a year since the release. It's, yeah, it's embarrassing at this point.
Yep, have suffered the same.
It really makes a big difference though, doesn't it? Like you genuinely feel like, I can play, but I'm just not going to enjoy it as much because I don't feel like I've got as much control over everything I'm doing with my units, or I'm just going to end up losing more stuff than I should be. And it's just frustrating. War 3 champions playing on their servers were almost always really good. Like the ping was just ridiculously low. And I don't know exactly know how they pulled that off. I mean, they're not Blizzard. They're not like this big multi-dollar company as we know. So how are they all
Multi-dollar.
doing this? Like you mentioned the Hive sort of editor, like they're doing this now. Like all these third parties are coming in and really embarrassing Blizzard. Like I don't know, what should Blizzard just openly say, look, guys, you're better at this than us. We're just gonna basically say Warcraft 3 is now on maintenance mode or whatever it is. Because that's what they did with StarCraft 2, right? They did the 10-year anniversary and then they said, right, we might do the odd balance patch, but generally speaking, we're not doing anything new for StarCraft 2. Like they haven't really said anything about Warcraft 3, anything about the custom campaigns, anything about the hotkeys, anything about the features, bringing them back. Like they haven't given us any information other than what they want to do with ladder. But I think that was like 2 months ago now. What they plan to do
I
with
think it was
ladder,
like
but
5.
there's
I don't want to make things sadder than it is. It was June or July.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! Time goes quick, man. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, there it is. It it's yeah, it's crazy. Like everyone else is just doing the work for Blizzard, and they're kind of getting away with it. But the thing is that even if Blizzard implemented this ladder, would it be better than War 3 Champions? Because the War 3 Champions system seems pretty damn solid. Like everyone kind of gets what they get. They get good opponents. A lot of the time, you are fighting people that are on a similar level. There's different categories. Again, Blizzard want to do that themselves, but would they implement it as well? Would they actually pull it off as well as the War 3 Champions did? And I think in a lot of aspects, I would think like players like Grubby and Foggy and all these other top tier players, they might not necessarily want Blizzard to actually bring this ladder out. They might just prefer to carry on playing on War 3 Champions.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is the people at the top, the people running War 3 Champions are actually trying to pitch War 3 Champions to Blizzard right now. I think
Oh,
unsuccessfully, obviously, because
yeah,
but it's like I feel
they
like
don't
that's
listen.
the insulting thing is these guys can make something better than what they're putting out, but they won't even just kind of like take it, I guess. I don't know.
Blizzard have always been really weird like that with communication. Like I've never really had any communication with Blizzard, to be honest. And even people that do probably get communication probably have a hard time getting communication with them, like actually feeding back to them and having them listen as well. Like you can always get the impression that Blizzard are open to listening, but do they actually listen? And I think recent times would probably suggest that they don't. And hmm, sad times in these trying times.
Have you you must have you heard of like Dreamhaven and Frost Giant?
Yeah, yeah, that was awesome to hear about. Excited. I think we're not going to hear anything though, and hopefully we don't hear anything for a while because I want them to get their, their shizzle straight first before they sort of start announcing any games and just rushing into anything. And I think they plan to do it as well. They got big enough budgets to work with, so they're taking all the old school people and trying to make it work. It's really cool because we know indie games work, right? There's plenty of indie games that have tiny budgets but really passionate people working on it, and that's kind of the impression you get with our whole Dreamhaven. It's like we're taking this person, this person, this person, and they all really love what it is they did, but they couldn't carry on doing what it was they loved because Blizzard had basically changed as the company. They're not the same people anymore. So now they get to be in an environment where they can actually do what they actually love. And surprisingly enough, if you do something you love, you're probably going to create something quite good from it. So, there you go.
Yeah, it's always strange how that happens, you know?
Yeah.
Doing something you enjoy, creating something that is enjoyable.
And then, yeah, the passion shows, it comes through.
Word. Well, I ran through all my topics, unless you have any fun, quirky things to talk about, or if you want to
Oh, I'm
just
terrible. When I get put on the spot.
terrible on the
It's a
spot.
terrible thing. I'm just sort of like a reactive person for the most part. I can't.
No
Do
politics, no political
you
speeches.
remember the Azafan? He used to do like Warcraft 3 Azeroth Wars and such, and he'd always like when we did like sort of like the 2-player campaign or whatever, he'd always ask me questions like, "Oh, so what do you think about this?" or "What's your top or your favorite of this?" I can't answer it. I can't answer it. I'm sure I've got an answer in my head somewhere, but when I get asked like that, I just can't come up with this like what's my best or what's my worst. It's really tough to do. I don't know why.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I thought you. I hope my questions weren't too on the spot.
No, they were great. Yeah, you went over a lot, and I think we had a really fun discussion. But I mean, I'd love to sort of come up with more, but I can't do it off the top of my head. I
Politics,
just can't.
politics.
I'm very sort of like laid back in pretty much every aspect. So I don't, again, it's just, whatever. It is what it is. If they do mention politics and all that kind of stuff, it's just like I don't really sort of like care one way or the other. The world does what it does. The world moves
Well,
on.
there it is.
Exactly. It's just the way I am.
So John
Yeah.
Mongrel asked if you were if you were a hero in Warcraft 3, what would your ultimate be?
Oh, it would probably be the Alchemist's ultimate transmute, except I'll get more gold. I like my gold.
What would you be What would you be transmuting? Just anything?
I transmute the entire enemy base, and I get like 2,000 gold back.
That's OP.
It's like 300 gold for like a frostworm or whatever. I remember there was this game way back in the old days of Warcraft 3. There's a map, I think it's called Plunder Isle, and creep AI hadn't been perfected yet. So you could aggro a dragon and it wouldn't stop chasing. Nowadays, and since a long time ago, really, Blizzard made it so that they have a leash range. So they would travel so far and then run back. There's nothing you can do to get them to chase you all the way. But this particular dragon back then, you could lure it to someone's base right at the start of the game. And this used to be best for human players because they could fast build their altar, send an archmage, right click the dragon, go to the enemy base, and then the dragon's stuck in the enemy base. They kill the archmage and then they just keep attacking everything. There's nothing you can do about it at that stage of the game. And I love doing it with Twisted Meadows as well. And that really upset me because Blizzard keep nerfing all the fun, damn it. We had this map called Twisted Meadows, and we still do, but there used to be this big red dragon, right? And there's this strategy you can pull off, and you would get either a raider if you're orc, or a fiend if you're undead. You would use a gargoyle if you're undead, or a wyvern if you're orc, and you'd pull the dragon with the air unit, and then ensnare or web the dragon just before it flies back to the island. And if you do that right, the dragon's now stuck in the enemy base. It was a hard strategy to pull off, and versus really good players, it probably wouldn't ever work. But damn, was it fun to do, especially when it worked against players that didn't know how to handle it. They took that away and they changed the dragon with a big golem that can't be pulled that way. And that was such a fun trick. I used to do Tower Islands with Thomas, and now on Lost Temple, you can access the islands at the top left and the bottom right by ground because they implemented a path that allows you to get there. Whereas originally, the only way to get there was with a Zeppelin. So the fun idea was to try to keep the enemy distracted whilst building tower after tower after tower, piling up towers in the top left of the island, and then the enemy find out too late and then they slowly try to work ways on how to destroy the island. It became almost like a custom game. It's like they're going to try to use dragon hawks. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, they're going to try to drop wagons or siege tanks. They're going to try to get their ultimate, like their Blade Master, Blade Storm, and go ham with the Blade Storm. And it was fun. But that got changed. So yeah, a lot of changes sort of like almost always seem to be for the worst. But that's yeah, that's a sad, macabre thought to end on in that regard.
I feel like you have leash ranges like down to like a science in your head. I was watching you on stream, I don't know, a
Mm.
couple weeks ago or something, and you were like explaining how to perfectly like leash this creep away from what's it called? The Fountain of Life in this one custom map, and I was like learning so much.
Yeah, creeps can be manipulated, and that's part of the fun of Warcraft 3. At least they haven't taken away like the body blocking and a lot of that kind of exploitation. It's not necessarily exploitation, it's more clever use of game mechanics that they shouldn't ever change. Thankfully, they didn't do that with Reforged because that was always one of the concerns with Reforged. Is like, well, they're going to fix body blocking because the more casual player would be like, I don't get why my units keep clumping up on each other. I don't like that. But that's actually a really important part of the game that adds to a really high level gameplay where you can deny your opponent from escaping or try to help your units escape by continuing to body block the opponent from reaching you. And the same thing goes for creeps. You do it so many times, and I've crept a lot of creeps on 4 versus 4 RT or 1 versus 1, that you kind of you just sort of know when they're going to start to run back. So you obviously want to get them like that highest distance, and it works best for range units like Priestess of the Moon, Mass Archers, or Farseer, Tauren headhunters, and you can pull creeps back, and you can take almost no damage if you do it right. And it's a win-win in a sense. The only downside is it's a bit slower, but you take no damage. And if the enemy do gank you, you can just escape much more easily. It's much harder to escape when you're actually inside of the creep camp and you're getting attacked from behind. So it's very important actually to use the leash into your advantage.
All right, Grinchy asked, do you think any video games will come from any of the popular War 3 custom games again? I guess other than Legion TD.
Well, we had Element TD become its own standalone custom game. So that was another tower defense. I said I would like to see a Teamfight Tactics auto battler from Blizzard. I think they could easily do that. And let's face it, they're trying to go down more of a mobile route at the moment. We might not like it, but that probably is what they're gonna do. They've quite obvious they're treading waters ever so deeper into the mobile market. And an auto battler works really well because obviously it doesn't really require much APM or sort of like PC usage to make it work, but it still can be very satisfying to play on a PC because there's strategy to it. So I would still love to see something like Holy War or something along those lines, not to the extent that the lag that you get with Holy War, but you can battle against other people or player versus environment situations where here's a bunch of mobs. You need to work out the right composition, the right units to defeat these mobs to move on to the next level. I think something like that could be very easily created by Blizzard in the Blizzard universe with the Blizzard characters from either Warcraft, because Hearthstone basically nailed it, didn't they? At least not so much these days because I think they went a bit too much pay to win. But when it first came out, it was like done by this small group of 5 people, and it was just an offshoot from Blizzard. They were just like, "Hey, I've got this idea. Get a team, work on it for a couple of years, come back to me." So they could easily do something like that again, I think. And there's so many Warcraft 3 maps they can utilize for that purpose. And all the Warcraft 3 maps belong to Blizzard now, so they got all the choices in the world.
I always felt like Castle Fight was genius. I don't know. I was always addicted to Castle Fight.
Yeah, I actually think I originally played Nexus Wars before I played Castle Fight because I didn't play many StarCraft 2 custom games. I just didn't enjoy them as much as Warcraft 3. They just didn't feel, even though the UI was better, right? And they sort of had a sort of deeper mechanics potentially that the map creator could put in comparison to like a lot of Warcraft 3 ones. They didn't have that same feel, but I remember really enjoying Nexus Wars. That was the StarCraft 2 equivalent. I played that before I actually played the Castle Fight and Warcraft 3, I'm pretty sure. And that was like left lane versus right lane. You send a zealot, they send 5 circlings or whatever, that kind of principle. And it just goes from there.
I don't know if you've seen, but StarCraft 2 Customs got, I don't know, I guess I'd call it an uplift. They like rehauled their editor like a couple months ago.
I think I heard about that, but I just couldn't bring myself to really reinstall StarCraft 2 and get back into it. The opportunities there, like people sort of said, "Oh, do you want to play? What about Dota 2 custom game? Because Dota 2, they have like their own sort of bunch of custom games, just like Warcraft 3." And it's like, I guess I could, but I just don't find myself bothering to like put it on and just try to play it. I could easily do it on stream. There's again, I don't really have a schedule or anything. I could just say, like, guys, we're just going to play some Dota 2 custom games today, but I just don't. Like, maybe one day I do, but at the moment, I just don't.
I love it. Best way to live.
Just do what it is you want to do. Don't let the filthy backseat gamers have their way and tell you what to do. I'll always give people a hard time if they're saying, you gonna play customs or you gonna do this yet? Or are you still playing WoW? Like, shouldn't you be playing Warcraft 3 right now? I'd be like, look, I'll play Warcraft 3 when I'm playing Warcraft 3. Don't you worry, you'll get your Warcraft 3. But you just when I'm playing it, okay?
That's definitely my pet peeve as well.
Yeah. Some of them will be subtle with their hints, and other ones will just be like obnoxiously rude.
Yeah, they'll like threaten you. Like, I can't believe you're not playing what I want you to play. Like, this is a threat.
Yeah, streamer.
Oh.
Why do what I say?
Come on, I'm just trying to like play what I want to play.
this man on stream on my monitor not do what I want. Wow.
Couldn't have said it better. Well, I feel like we're at a good timestamp. I don't know if you want to like wrap up or if anyone else has any deep questions, political questions.
Deep thoughts. Really delve in there.
Do you believe
Think
in
about it.
the Illuminati?
The Illuminati.
Yeah.
I can't tell you about that
Oh
because
no.
yeah, that would be
Oh.
giving away too much. I'm surprised you mentioned it. I might have to speak to some people.
God damn it.
Yeah,
I should have asked if you believed in God.
I hope you guys like BladeMasterRUSH. Make the most of him for the next day or two, because I'm sending the boys around to take care of him. He knows too much.
God damn it. Every time, dude. I swear there's an Illuminati in Warcraft 3 and you're, you're really tipping me off to it.
I mean, it's possible. I'm always open to like a lot of things. I think there's a realistic approach to these things existing, but who's to say? You know, never say never.
All right. Last question. Did you ever play against Tillerman? Oh, I heard about Tillerman.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm not sure. I might have played against him in a 4 versus 4 random team, but I honestly don't think I did. Definitely not 1 versus 1. But I remember him being in the channel. Back in the old days, you had Warcraft 3 channels. So you'd have GBR for Great Britain, you'd have DEU for Germany, and you could always tell the popularity of the game in a certain country because the Germans would have like 14, 15 channels filled with like 40 people each or whatever. And Britain normally only had like 1 or 2 sort of channels. And that was always a really cool time because you used to have people that just sort of sit there at the top of the channel. They'd never log off. They'd never turn off their PC. People would try to get that elusive top spot. And there was this one point when Tillerman was actually there in the channel. Everyone was like talking to him. Everyone was just like trying to get his attention. And he just never said anything back. So I think he was always one of these guys that sort of just did what he did. He didn't want to sort of like communicate or talk to anyone he didn't want to talk to. You know, I don't think he was kind of blunt in that fashion. That's the impression I got. He was part of a clan, Four Kings, wasn't it? And so was Bond, another UK player. He got into that. There was a few people from the UK that were pretty good, like Bond, Mick the Great, and and Cree. But I think Cree got in there. Creeper, he doesn't really play anymore. But yeah, he got into that clan as well as part of it. I never really got to interact with Tillerman though, other than one time when I did see him in the channel and I did ask him questions. I said, "Oh wow, I'm a fan," and I just didn't get a response. So yeah, he was there though. That was his character. It was in channel. I saw the picture. I saw the name. That was him.
He sounds like Illuminati.
You think?
Yeah, sounds ominous.
He did disappear, didn't he?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he's still there in the background, pulling the strings.
He's actually grubby.
You think?
Well,
Well, Grubby had a German accent. No, what is it? The Scottish accent all the way back then.
it's not Grubby playing. He's actually playing. Grubby's just in front of the camera.
Oh my
100%.
God. So you're saying that he has like a microchip in Grubby
I think so.
and he is literally controlling him like being John Malkovich or something like that. Have you seen that film?
I don't think so.
That film is a scenario where these characters come across this tunnel. They go down this tunnel, and when they get to the end of it, they go and actually get control of another person called John Malkovich.
Oh, that's freaky.
And yeah, like someone is basically literally like the Banshee possess. Someone just possesses you. They can move your arm. They can do everything. You're just a passenger at that point. It's like a Black Mirror episode or something. So you never know.
Well, that was nice and ominous.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Go
on,
to
Witty.
sleep. Yeah. Have nice dreams. Get possessed by a banshee in the middle of the night. You see
I
this
hope it's
strange
Sylvanas.
ethereal form just standing over you for approximately 5 seconds before she suddenly goes, "Rah!" And that's it. You're gone.
Okay, all right. Actually, I have one last question. Do you think Sylvanas is
What
hot?
is it? Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Simping for
Simping
Sylvanas.
for Sylvanas, yes.
Nah, I've never really been on that board, on that train. Sure, she's nice, but you know, I've never really cared that much. Those getting too deep into it, so like, oh wow, my queen. No, yeah, she's a hottie, but you know, it doesn't have any control over me.
She's a little old and
Yeah,
dead.
she's like 1,000 years old or something, isn't she? She's young at heart though. She's very ambitious, so you know, she's still got plenty of life in her.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, this is Witty, everyone. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. I feel like Witty is eternal in Warcraft. As long as Warcraft stands, hopefully you'll be playing a little bit. May not stand
Yeah,
much longer. That's the meme.
Well, I'll be next year. We'll have Warcraft Reforged, so I'm sure we're going to get BlizzCon announcement. Was it February? BlizzCon Online. They're going to be like, Reforged wasn't quite right, so we're going to reforge Reforged, and we'll bring that out to you next year. So we got that to look forward to. I'm sure it's going to be part of the announcement.
Damn, insider info. That.
Yeah,
Warcraft
you heard it
4.
here. Warcraft Reforged 4.
Word.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
cheers. Cheers. Thank
Good
you,
chat.
everyone watching on Twitch. You know, we're going to persevere. We're going to overcome Blizzard.
Yeah, it's still going. We're still going. So the scene is still strong. Like back to Warcraft, still pushing the esports. I feel like it's only grown, really. So yeah, I don't see it sort of Warcraft really dying at any point soon. I think it's still got its core audience, and it's just unfortunately couldn't sort of pull in many new people. That was kind of what Reforged was essentially going to be for. I think not many people would have stuck around. I think even if Reforged was good, people would probably just play the campaign, and that would probably be it. Maybe delve into melee, but it certainly could have gone better. Certainly could have held a bit more of an audience. So I guess for the future of Warcraft, Warcraft 3 is doing fine, but you would probably hope that maybe there is a Warcraft 4 in the horizon. I suspect, but we'll see. Time will tell. What do you think, though? What do you think? Do you think Blizzard are going to do it? Because like, there's no real reason for them to do it. For example, Reforged didn't do well. The RTS is like a stagnant genre. They make more money from mobile games these days. So unless they can bring out a Warcraft 4 that's filled with microtransactions, which is what I thought they were going to do with Reforged, to be frank with you, because I thought, well, that's part of the reason why they're just revisiting it, is to find some ways to put in some DLC. Why would they do a Warcraft 4? Like, honestly, if you was a games company, if you're there to make money, why wouldn't you just make something that's infinitely easier than an RTS? So thankfully, we're lucky that Warcraft 3 is just such a solid game that can stand on its own right to sort of survive the test of time. But unfortunately, I don't know whether a Warcraft 4 is going to happen. And if it does, if it's going to be the Warcraft that we want. But, you know.
I don't think it's going to
Again,
happen.
just... Nah.
Yeah.
Probably not. You just have to see what Frostpunk and Dreamhaven are going to bring out as well.
Yeah, I'm banking on those guys.
Yeah, that'd be exciting though, right? That's cool. You know, like it really was genuinely exciting, because you think, as much as I love Blizzard, I don't sort of necessarily trust them to bring out games that I'm going to be passionate about anymore. Whereas there's still hope on the horizon that games can still come out that I will actually really be able to get into. Like, honestly, the last game, I know I keep going on, but the last game I really was heavily into, I think, honestly, was Skyrim. Maybe Hearthstone. I did get pretty addicted to that, but I freaking loved Skyrim. I
Skyrim
couldn't
came
wait
out
to
like
get back
10 years
home.
ago, dude.
Yeah. It was 2012, I think, because I remember when I first started working at my office job, like a guy talked to me and he's like, have you heard about this game called Skyrim? Like, I had no idea. I didn't know what Elder Scrolls Skyrim was. Picked it up, fell in love with it. Oh my goodness, I loved it so much. So I don't really get many games these days where I just get completely obsessed. I think that's an age thing as well, to be honest with you. It's harder to sort of impress me because I've had those experiences growing up with games that I've been obsessed with. So I have those benchmarks, those peaks of interest that I know were like so good back then. I would want to do only this one game, only this thing. And now it's like Skyrim was like the last thing, I guess. I think, honestly, that I really just that was what I came home to do. Like as soon as I came home from work, I put on Skyrim, I'd get playing, and that was it. Fantastic. So I'm in the position where I can only be pleasantly surprised, I think, by something that could come out from Dreamhaven or Frost Giant. It could just be something I play and I go, yeah, it's a game. It is what it is. But it could be something I get addicted to, just like I've been addicted to with Warcraft 3. So, got to be a bit positive about these things.
Yeah, it's hard to hold serious expectations just because it's slated to come out in so long, like 5 years or whatever. But can't believe you didn't say Fortnite was the last.
I never played. I had no interest in playing that. I don't see myself playing
missed
it.
out.
Not even for a bet would I play that. I think it's great that the kids have something to play, though. And the funny thing is, it's done by Epic, right? And I was a big fan, still am really, of Unreal Tournament. Like when I was like 17 years old, that was like 1999 or whatever it was. I can't remember now. Getting too old. No, I wasn't quite that old then. But Unreal Tournament came out 1999 of that one, and I fell in love with that. Epic Games, all their stuff, really, really cool. And they're really good at like the first person shooter because that was Unreal Tournament. And Fortnite comes around. I just have no interest in playing that. It is not for me. Not for me. Not my style. I think I have to be probably 20 years younger, and my balls need to be a lot higher for me to get into Fortnite.
That's a real shocker. I really pegged you for a Fortnite guy with all your Fortnite videos.
Yeah. That's it. New channel, Witty Fortnite.
Word?
You right there?
Yeah, I was just listening to my bird. I had a moment.
I hope he's doing all right.
He's doing great. Yeah, I don't know. I've definitely learned a lot about you, Witty.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I had a good fun chatting. It's nice to it's almost cathartic to sort of like go over there, fence some issues, but sort of realize some others, actually discuss them.
It's definitely, I mean, yeah, I kind of got some, I don't know if I'm going to call it insider information, but I've definitely learned some things through the podcast about Warcraft 3 that makes me understand that it's not going to get better by their actions. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I've just like talked to some people and some informal settings, and it just seems like in the backseat, it's as bad as we think it is.
Like, yeah, no, I think there's every reason to be realistic / pessimistic about it. It's up to the community to really keep the game alive. Obviously, we'd love for Blizzard to come out and say, right, custom campaigns coming out next week. Our guys have been doing this, and this. In fact, now we've made it so that you can actually implement this feature and you can combine several campaign levels together. So it's all easily accessed through a new menu that you have in the UI for Warcraft 3. You go to you load up, you go single player, you go custom campaign, and look, oh, it's now improved. There's even more than there was the first time. Nah, it's not going to happen. We'd be lucky if we just get back what we had in the first place. Just is what it is. Yeah.
Plans would be nice.
What it is. Yeah. I bloody want those hotkeys. I think War3 Champions brought out a hotkey thing. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, that was one of the main things I was looking forward to at Reforged, because I played the Starcraft remastered and I was like, wow, holy shit, there's this area you can go to where you can literally map every unit, every building to a specific hotkey if you want it. You say, I don't like pressing T for this, or I don't like pressing U for that. I can change it. And I just thought that was a given we were going to get that in Warcraft 3 Reforged because one, they've already done it in Starcraft. They've had the experience. They worked out the system to implement it. So it's like making a sequel. It's easier than making the original because you've already got the pieces of the puzzle solved and you just need to add to it. So I thought that's what we were going to get with Warcraft 3 Reforged as a default. So yikes. We still don't even have a custom game filter. Like the amount of times I have to search for custom games in my bloody list whilst I wait for it to load up every single time and then try to find the right map and scroll down. Ugh. I don't know, man. Like, what is going on there? Like, that can't be hard to implement. War 3 Champions probably do that in like a millisecond or whatever if they really wanted to. So, they probably got literally one guy, one intern working on the Reforged at the moment.
I know.
And
I
he's
keep
like,
trying to find out. I keep trying to get that line to that intern. I'm
yeah, you
asking
trying to get his
everyone.
name. I think he's busy enough running like to the side of the office. Like he's trying to spin so many plates, just trying to keep this one thing going. Like Blizzard in headquarters like call him up and they say, "Have you done this thing yet? We need this thing out by this point." It's like, all right, I'll get on that, but I'm still trying to make custom campaigns work, and it's just like he doesn't even
Custom
know how to
campaigns.
program or code. Like, yikes.
Yeah, a funny thing about the hotkeys is you can actually do all of that in a text file. So I have custom hotkeys because my friend set it up for me. I don't even know how to do it. So it's like it's even easier than you'd think because they would have to do is make a UI for it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You're right. They just need the UI that makes it more user friendly. So you can click and then change the hotkey manually in the Warcraft 3 game. The problem I had with doing it with the notepad and why I kind of refused to do it from the notepad is I was scared that if I changed one of the hotkeys in that aspect, it might mess up other hotkeys down the line because it's in a notepad. You have to save it and then change back what you did the first time, right? You have to keep a copy just so you don't screw it up. Otherwise, you have to end up reinstalling the game.
It's
If they just
incredibly
had it,
confusing.
yeah, it's not. You don't want to read through like text line after text line after text line, and just hope that you don't screw up another hotkey further down the line by changing one thing in the text file. That's way too basic and rudimentary. It's like, no, they should have easily had a feature by now that just gives you the user interface. I would personally prefer it. Right here would be like the bonus would be not only would you be able to change the hotkeys in Warcraft 3, right, inside of the game, you could actually do it whilst you were playing a game. Because a lot of the time I play custom games, I've just played with the natural hotkeys and it works. But then there's these times where these janky ass maps, the guy can create all of these triggers, can do all of these things, make all these mobs spawn, make all these events happen, but they can't make 4 abilities from a hero not share the same hotkey. Like 3 of these abilities out of 4 on a hero might all use the hotkey T, and it's infuriating because I've got to click the other 2 hotkeys. So if I could just press ESC whilst inside of the game, go to options, go to hotkeys, I could manually change the hotkeys there and then. That would be freaking awesome, man. To just change the command because it's called a command card, the bit at the bottom right, I think. So you could just manually change it because people say, all right, why don't you just use the grid? But the grid then makes it so that your move is now all QWER, and I don't like that. The only button I want to change because I like pressing H for hold position. It's only M for mother for movement. Having to press M to try to do some micro surrounds is kind of a real pain. I would change that to G or something, but that might also affect certain other abilities like anti-magic shell or whatnot. So.
There's like
I'm sure it could.
my friend
I'm sure it can be done, but
my friend set up exactly what you are describing. That's what I have, like a hacked grid hotkey where like everything's grid besides like hold and all that stuff, and that's just like normal. Like hold is H.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's it. Yeah. You only really want to change just the unit hotkeys or the hero hotkeys. It's not much, but yeah, you get these custom hero survivals, and now they have like 7 abilities. But out of those 7 abilities, you've got like 4 spells that all share the same hotkey. It's just crazy. So I've got to press F for one of them and then click the other three to do my fort lining, to do, all the other spells, fairy fire, all that kind of stuff. Oof. It could be easier. It could be better. They could do it. Come in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, maybe 4.
I've been saying that, but now I actually have less hope. But I've always been saying is once they fix the ladder, everything will fall in place. But now I kind of, I'm not sure if they're gonna fix the ladder, but I still do believe that to some extent.
I think they kind of have to. Like, they've obviously put the work into doing that, at least, because they've shown that they've put work into it, and that was way back. So they're just probably trying to find a way to implement it. I mean, you might want to think along the lines that they're being clever and letting War3 champions do all the hard work and essentially see what it is that they do and then copy them, because Blizzard are pretty good at that. Finding a game that has a good
That's
system,
a good
a
point.
good mechanical implementation, and put it into their own games, their own Blizzard flavor, and then releasing it with a bit of more polish. Are they doing that though, or are they just got that one intern guy that's like still trying to make the ladder work? You know, you don't really know. You can assume, but you still don't know.
My short-term goal recently has become try to get somebody on this podcast who works at Blizzard or like worked at Blizzard, because I feel like I've just
A
heard
cool
like,
Dreamhaven, man.
yeah, I heard
Or
everybody quit.
Bonfire Studios has Rob Pardo in it, I think. Yeah, so there's all these kind of different studios and companies that like have been branched off from Blizzard employees, essentially. So over time, Blizzard have lost pretty much all of their originals, which you think is natural. Like, you shouldn't give them such a hard time for that, because obviously the company's been around a long time. People are just going to move on. But it's happened a lot in the last few years. There's been a lot of moving on in the last few years at Blizzard. So yeah, good
Maybe
luck
for the
getting that
better.
person. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be easy because I think they have like NDAs or whatever, but it would be
Hmm.
interesting to hear somebody. Because
They could be listening right now.
they could be listening right now.
Give him a call. Give that Blade Master a call.
I think Neo
Let
was
him know what's
saying
happening.
he went to like one of the LAN events or something like pre-Reforged, and the
Hmm.
gist of it was there were like 70 people working on Reforged at some
Wow.
point 2 years ago, and I think like none of them work on Reforged now.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've all abandoned ship, so to speak. Yeah. I'll just keep on chugging. That's what I do. I don't really have any particular plans, like, oh, what am I doing with the channel, or if I hit 100k, what am I going to do? Am I going to do a special video? I just keep going. It is what it is. And time flies. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this Warcraft gig for, but I don't plan to stop anytime soon. So regardless of what Blizzard is doing with Warcraft in general, I'm just going to carry on. It'd be nice if they did like a Warcraft 4, because then I can just essentially slowly transition to Warcraft 4 while still maybe putting out the odd Warcraft 3 video for those that still love Warcraft 3. But just do what I do. See what happens.
I'm in the same boat. People say the same, and I'm like, I'm still gonna play Warcraft 3. I think
Mm.
Reforged didn't make things any worse from a community perspective, even though people would argue that it did. They also added
I think a lot
things.
of the core members stayed together and they banded together to make the game better. So yeah, I think Warcraft 3 is fine. It's just, again, it just could have been better. It's just a missed opportunity, unfortunately. But it's still the same game. A lot of people sort of sometimes say, "Oh, how can you play Reforged and all that?" And I just say, "Well, it's not really any different to what it was I was doing. I was just playing custom games before. I still just play custom games now. There's less chance of disconnects now, at least. That seems to have calmed down a bit. Getting randomly disconnected all the time. Time was a bit of a challenge. Probably about 5 to 6 plus months ago, that was a far more common thing to deal with, but I have to say it has been a lot more stable recently. Like in melee games, I haven't found myself getting randomly disconnected. It does happen to some people I know that join my games though, and we always just sort of like, you know, mock it. We just go, oh, you got reforged, you know, you just got reforged. But I think it's about as stable as it can be. I definitely appreciate the UI. Sort of when I look back at my old videos, it's a bit hard to look at them because you're so zoomed in. Like you technically have the same zoom in now, although Warframe Champions you can zoom out, but I never like that. Especially from a competitive view, I feel everyone should have the same view. But yeah, like if you look at that, it's so stretched. It's hard to look at the old footage now. So I appreciate that it's been sort of brought to like a cleaner 1920p sort of like angle instead of like the old school, whatever it was, 680 by 480, you know, like way back, like when monitors were much smaller, etc. So I think it's still in a good place. Just there's more work to be done. It's going to take a lot longer than we would assume if it all that this work gets done on the game. So that's more content then, eh? The channels can go on forever. We can be talking about what they're going to do for custom campaigns 3 years time from now.
Custom campaigns are dead. Sorry, guys.
I still got so many to play. I have a whole list of them that people have suggested, but I can't visit them at any point soon.
Can't you play
Because you
them?
literally can't play them.
Can't you play them map by map?
Map by map, yeah, but not like if they've been built as a custom campaign. So, for example, the Warcraft Chronicles of the Second War, which is
Yeah.
like a really cool sort of a revisitation of Warcraft 2, but in Reforged. So, again, I'm not biggest fan of Reforged graphics and all of that, but for a campaign aspect, you can get away with it more because it's less about sort of high intensity micro needing to read the battle and more about enjoying the aesthetics and the environment, which Reforged, at least if you don't agree with how they've implemented this sort of like blend of terrain and aesthetics, doodads, units, models, they're different at least, and there's more of them. I actually really cheered them at BlizzCon when they mentioned the fact that, you know, Dalaran mages all have a different look. They're not all the same model, just slightly scaled up and slightly darker. Because a lot of the classic models have that. That's how they kind of got around it. Like all the Wendigos are all the same model, Jungle Stalkers. But they really created some new cool styles for these models in Reforged. But unfortunately, it's Reforged. It's those Reforged graphics. I would have loved to have classic equivalents, right? How good would it have been to have all the model variety that they brought with Reforged, but the classic equivalent as well? Like I said, there's so many cool classic models on Hive Workshop, etc., that I think just really, if you play Hellholt TD, for example, you can see a whole bunch of different models each round, and it's like, oh, cool. These are satyrs, but they look like necromancers at the same time, but it just works. It's its own unique model. It's cool. It's new. It's refreshing. Just do that. Don't do this horrible 20 frame rate realistic graphics. But yeah. Ah, what
20
can you
frame
do?
rates is generous.
Yeah, it might actually be more like 14 frames or something. I think they are actually locked to a smaller frame just to try to make them work. It just isn't optimized. The game isn't optimized for these models, and it obviously shows.
But
Mm.
like, how often in your chat do you get? Why aren't you using or
Pretty much once a day, probably at least. But that's more
yeah, people
YouTube, I
probably
would say,
don't say it
actually.
as often, right?
Nah, not as much nowadays. It's certainly happened a lot before. A lot before. Yeah, people would be like, "Oh, he's not playing with Reforged," or it almost felt like you had to play with Reforged to sort of like appease a newer audience or whatnot. But eventually, I just went pretty hard back to Classic fairly early on. From time to time, I'll put some Reforged graphics on though, mostly because I'm curious about how the map will play it, not because I think this is well designed, this is really designed for Reforged. It'd be like, I wonder what this looks like in Reforged. Like play this Escape the Crab map, giant enemy crab, And I played that in Reforged because it's just a silly little map. It didn't matter too much. I'm not playing like Azeroth Wars where there's 1,000 units on the screen and my frame rate's going to be like 1. It's just a map where you've got like 10 different survivors. You're just running from this crab, building some things. It's nothing too intensive. And it just kind of worked with Reforged because it's a bit silly. And the environment was like a sort of jungle / island. So Reforged obviously has slightly nicer water effects and all of that kind of stuff. So you can kind of get into the feel of the atmosphere from that custom game. But it's a hand-picked experience. It's like I'll play Reforged with this because I feel like it, not because I want to or I need to. It's just I think this could be interesting. Is the way I look at it.
I feel like tower defenses are a little more generous to Reforged. But maybe
Yeah,
I'm wrong
you
about
can
that.
certainly do that. Yeah, it depends whether they've made it so that one computer spawns all the mobs or multiple computers spawn the mobs, because then it can get pretty damn laggy, and all the
Really?
mobs just sort of like clump up. Yeah, I think map makers, I think it's something like a 200 unit limit or something. I don't know specifically what it is, but there's a certain amount of units that a computer can control. If there's any more than that, they'll start to move sluggishly. They'll start to slack. They'll move one at a time instead of all as a group because it can't program enough input commands for the units to move individually and do their own thing. So that's why you'll sometimes see custom games where there's like 4 computers or something like that, because it has so
Oh.
many units that those each of those computers is essentially assigned a role to control rather than just one computer taking on all the work.
I didn't know that. Like, that's super intuitive, but
Mm.
that's why Castle Fight lags.
Yeah. It's impossible to play that without lagging.
It's real bad.
Yes. You basically have to spend majority of the game not even looking at the game. And look at the bottom right of the corner of the screen where it's all dark, just so that you'll get an extra frame rate per second.
Yeah, my map is locked to classic graphics. Most of the maps I play are locked to classic graphics. Too much discrepancy. Well, I mean, the lag, of course, but like the tile sets are different, and as Jonas mentions, like the classic and Reforged models have different sizes. So I don't get to play much Reforged. Very sad about that.
Yeah, that was a lot of the intern's work. It's trying to fix the sizes of the models and their selection scales, because there was a kobold that had like the selection scale of like a hydra. It looked quite funny. It's got this giant red circle that's like miles outside of its own radius. And this was like in release. This is a released game, and it looks like that. It's fine though.
Small
It's
indie
fine.
company.
Yeah.
I feel like you could be a voice actor for. I feel like you should be a sound set for something in Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 4.
Yeah, that would be lovely. I've always wanted to do like voice acting. I've even put that in like my bio for the Witty 1 channel, I think. I don't even know if it's still there, but it originally used to be. Sort of like when you put like a little description of yourself, I was just like, I don't even know really what do I like? I like gaming, I like swimming, and I want to be a voice actor or something like that. So it's something I never really sort of delved into because I've always been so busy just trying to keep YouTube like maintained with like the daily videos, etc. That's kind of like my main rotation is just Twitch, export the videos, sort them out, tag them, thumbnail, description, line them up. I've got an Excel spreadsheet where I keep tabs of them. I got a notepad where I keep tabs of all of my melee games, with the types of melee games, whether they're 4v4, whether they're 1v1. So there's a lot of sort of maintenance stuff that I do these days that ends up taking my time. And then if I had the spare time after that, then I'll just go straight into like World of Warcraft because I'm still an avid gamer, still obsessed with gaming. So even after spending the whole time streaming a game, I'll go and stream, or I'll go and play some more, you know. So that's kind of like my break in a way, is doing some World of Warcraft. Otherwise, if it wasn't World of Warcraft, it was like Slay the Spire. That's just a nice game you can sort of play whilst watching some YouTube. You can catch up on YouTube channels that you might follow, or Twitch streams, etc., and just relax on that. So yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good place now, where I just have the maintenance under control, where I've got a good system. And like I say, that's why I like to have control of everything, because I am able to maintain that system. If there's, say, for example, someone else that then edits the videos and then does them on their own, they might not have it ready by tomorrow. I've got to wait for them to finish it. Then I've got to wait for them to put it up. Then I've got to put it onto my own spreadsheets. It sounds like such a small sort of niche little thing, but it actually has a big knock-on effect where I just feel like I'm waiting. I feel like I've got to hang on, and I don't know, I'm kind of impatient in that regard. So yeah, I forgot what I was really talking about there. But yeah, it is what it is.
I have my YouTube videos scheduled to a T like that. I definitely agree with that. Just because I like
I
to
highly
space them
recommend
out.
it.
Azeroth Wars, not Azeroth Wars. Azeroth Wars,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, you get a feel for it. And for the longest time when I first started, I didn't really control it as well as I should have done. So it became a complete mess. I had to end up revisiting the WtiiWarcraft channel and going through all of like the playlists and basically creating them from scratch and categorizing or labeling the videos, because I hadn't done it originally. I didn't have a spreadsheet like so many years ago. And I didn't know, like, if someone said to me, like, where's this game? Or what game did you do this in? Or, you know, what number of Legion TDs do you have? I don't know. I don't know. But now I can literally just go into an Excel spreadsheet and probably find it quite easily. So it's nice to have it, whether it's ever that useful, because, you know, it doesn't really come in handy, but it's nice to have. It's nice to have. It satisfies that OCD urge to keep tabs on things. Hmm.
Do you think we'll continue to see the quiz series?
Yeah,
That on the
definitely.
spreadsheet.
It's on the notepad,
On the notepad.
but yeah, it's I mean, I've got that all set up on a notepad, like the layout, the template. That's why it took me such a long time to get the second one done, even though the second one is basically a revamp of the first one. It's a big revamp. It's like twice the amount of transitions. It's like a frick ton more questions. Only technically like 9 more questions, but the variety of the questions, the categories of the questions are far more deeper. Like almost every 1 to 2 questions is a different question. So originally it would be like 4 questions would basically be about sound, 4 questions would be about looks, 4 questions would be about, but now it's like every question is a new topic, it's a new thing. So that was a lot of fun to try to work out what to create question wise. So melee map locations, I started implementing some of that. Some people don't like it, so what I'll probably do is keep the Ultimate Warcraft quiz as it is, because it's technically the Ultimate Warcraft quiz. It's like supposed to be challenging, but also have like more, again, like dedicated quizzes to maybe just sound or just looks. So that way a player will be like, well, I know sounds, I know looks, but I've never played melee, so I don't know what this map is, or I don't know how much health that unit has, or I don't know how much this unit costs. It's really fun creating that sort of content, because you are the sculptor. You get to design how it goes. I'm not sort of limited to having to work around a particular template or anything like that. I can design exactly what I want it to be, and that's the quiz. You want to play it, you play it. It's there. I've designed it, I created it, you go for it. I love it. I like it. I want to do more of them. Definitely.
You should
It's
do one for
just
the
at the
Russians.
moment with World of Warcraft. What's that?
You should do one for the Russians.
What the localizations?
They would love that.
Oh yeah. I'd use only Reforged. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? With the, like, people always joked about it as well. It's like you notice like my quizzes, they use the classic graphics, right?
Yeah.
I guess I could do a Reforged one, but how many people are really gonna like that? You know, like, what's this unit? But it's using like the Reforged graphics, etc., and no one's gonna recognize it.
X Wizard will.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you know X Wizard. He like only uses Reforged graphics, and I'm like, what are you doing? But I'm also like, I guess I respect it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good move. Like I think Reforge still pulls in Fuse, so you can still go from that aspect. As long as he's quite happy playing it, though, I'd hope he'd be happy, sort of like, or at least satisfied playing it. Like you're able to tolerate it. I maybe enjoys it, but for me personally, like I say, like I'm very much my. I don't sort of let people dictate necessarily what it is I do. Like if they want to tell me what to do, they can do it. But I'll just ignore them or ban them, and I'll just do what it is that I want. So I'm going to do classic graphics, and hopefully there's a community or there's a following that enjoys it. That's my channel's always been small in that aspect. It's always, I don't sort of like grow exponentially or anything along those lines, but I've always had my core sort of loyal viewers. So they've always stuck around for what it is I do because it is what I do. I sort of like try to wear my heart on my sleeve a little bit. I think that's the best way to do things because I think it would be way harder to try to be or pretend to be something that you're not. So it's much easier just to be who you are. And then eventually you'll find people that actually like you for who you are and will continue to stick around.
And at the end of the day, you're just a peon. Work.
I always kind of regret having that peon because I always thought that a peasant makes more sense for me
You could still change
because
it.
it's a human. Oh no, I wouldn't do that now. Like I
No?
just think it is what it is. Like the symbol is there, and I like the peon symbol. I think it kind of looks cute, so it
Yeah, I
doesn't
like it
bother me.
too.
But I'm not actually really an orc player. I'm a human player technically. I'm a human male, so the peasant kind of works. I can do the righto, the peasant voice.
The
Off I
peasant looks
go
pretty
then.
good, dude.
It does.
I
I
mean, look
could
at him.
use it. Yeah,
Slap him right over
he's
there.
pretty great. Yeah, he's awesome. I love him, but it's the peon. It's just that's the one I went with, so that's what we got. I gotta commit to the peon.
um, Mongrel asks, John Mongrel. That is your real name. How long did it take
Mm.
you to make the why Warcraft 3 Reforged failed? The top of the YouTube search.
A long time, because there was a lot of pressure behind creating a video like that. That's
Ah.
the issue, right? Creative content is really awesome to do, but if it's creative content that can be broken down or critically analyzed or essentially you can find errors with it, it becomes really hard to create. So again, it goes back to sort of like those melee guides. It's hard to create those because there's gonna be that person that says, oh, you've done this wrong, or this is what you actually do, or this isn't what happened, it actually went this way. So when I was creating that, I really went out of my way to make sure that everything I was putting in that video was accurate. It wasn't supposed to be a slander on Blizzard or anything like that. It was just the truth. That was the angle I went. I wanted to be as sort of neutral in regards to it as possible. I added some sort of flair with the gone and all that kind of stuff for fun. But generally speaking, it was just this is the topic. This is what Blizzard did. Here's how it happened. Here's some references. Here's some screenshots. Here's some discussion in regards. Here's some video. Like I wanted that to be as accurate as possible. And there's a lot of things that went wrong with Reforged. So there's a lot of topics to cover with it. So if you looked at the list in that video, it goes over a lot of things. And again, because I've done YouTube a long time, I know that people like to sort of get all their information, or at least I sort of look at it from the point of view where if I was watching a video, I wouldn't want the video going on for hours and hours and hours necessarily. I would want to sort of like crack on with what the topic is and then move on to the next topic and then move on to the next topic. And that's what I try to do. I try to get all of the information I could about everything, the disconnections, the campaign issues, the multiplayer issues, the LAN events, the Dream Hack tournament, just like the refunds issues, and sort of compile and press it down and sort of like make each section sort of 1 minute. And I have no idea how many hours it took, but I knew that I took my time to do it because I got so much flack, right? When I first, again, this goes right back to when Reforged released. I was playing the campaign. I'd have people in my channel going, "Oh, this guy, he's such a sellout. Like, what a shill. He's not saying anything about how bad Reforged is and all that." And I'm like, "Look, I'm doing this campaign. I love Warcraft 3. I'm not going to not play it. I'm going to play the damn thing and experience it and work it out for myself." And it took quite a few months before I actually got around to actually putting that video out and getting all of the concise bits. And those people don't exist anymore. They ain't there anymore going, "Oh, you never told us what you think, or you never really did give your opinions and all that kind of stuff." No, I bided my time. I wanted to be accurate about what it was I was saying, and then boom, it's all in one video. You can go check it for yourself, and if you don't like it, then fuck off, basically. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the
it's a
best
long
way to do
time.
it for someone in your position.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to rush an opinion out or something like that. I wanted to make sure that if I'm putting this out there, I don't want to be like insulting to Blizzard, because whilst the video may come across that way, it's just the truth. Like, I wanted to be accurate. I like to be honest. I want to put that forward. I hate trying to make shit up and sort of like pass it off as true. Like, I hate that kind of mentality. It's just not my style. So I always try to be as accurate as possible when I'm talking about things. And if I'm not being accurate, then I will joke about it and make it clear that I don't know what I'm talking about. So people know where I stand, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many videos too on that why Warcraft 3 Reforged failed.
Yeah, there was a popular one, popular subject, because I think because it got that Metacritic score, which
Yeah.
in a strange way actually gave Warcraft 3 a lot of attention, right? Is like, what is this game that is so bad? It got 0.4 on the Metacritic score. It's like, I wonder, how did it get 0.4? What went wrong? So obviously it got attention from that aspect of people wanted to know why, how. How can Blizzard do that with all the experience? They had the game. They just needed to re-release it with slightly shinier graphics. It's not that hard. It's all done. The hard work was done. But again, like, it goes back to when I mentioned sort of like in the earlier days of them working towards a Reforge. I think they were struggling, and it took way more time than they intended it to take to code everything and to pull everything over and to get the resources from the original game to work with what they were trying to do, because they're basically trying to cross realm the Reforge, so the Reforge works at the same time as Classic. So a player with Classic graphics can fight versus a player with Reforge graphics. Because they went with that, which was pretty admirable, but that was also because they wanted to sort of put it onto the Battle.net app, and they killed the original Warcraft 3 when you think about it. Like, you just can't play the original Warcraft 3 anymore because it has to be played through the app now.
You
Because they
you can
tried
you
so
can.
hard.
It's just like
You
some
can.
Russian shit.
All right.
There's a way.
Yeah, it's obviously it's not, yeah, it's not easy though, and it's a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's they tried too hard to make that work, and I think that took like 80% of their time and resources when they were probably only intending to put 20% on it, which is why nothing is finished. Like, the game just was completely unfinished, and they had to delay for like a month or two, and they still can't finish. It was pretty obvious they just weren't going to get it done.
Coronavirus happened too, but
Kinda. I did, but this was like, the game was basically shipped to release, right? January 2020. And I don't think coronavirus really became a lockdown issue until like February onwards from 2020.
yeah,
Because
they
I was at,
definitely released an unreleased, like an unfinished game. But
yeah.
when it happened, they probably were just like, fuck this game. Cut the
Hmm.
team.
Oh, they definitely were. Yeah. No, I think the team probably worked hard just to get that delay. I think the headquarters of Blizzard, I think that was the intention, right? It was like they have their quarterlies and all of this. So it was like, is Reforged finished? Is it done? Hell no. But we want to have a little bit more money in this particular quarterly section of 2019 or 2020 or whatever for our shareholders. So they're literally just fucking entire game over everything about it, just so they can have a few extra thousands on their spreadsheet for their shareholders. It's crazy. It's crazy how you just don't think that can really pay off. Yeah, they appease the shareholders for that short time, but the amount of damage they do for like not only their reputation, and their reputation is money as well. They need to think about it that way. Reputation is money. Like if you fuck your reputation up, no one's going to trust you anymore. No one's going to buy your stuff anymore. Crazy. I don't know what the logic was there, but money obviously was far more important than anything else.
Yeah, throwback to Diablo 2. I remember when Diablo 3 came out. I think everyone was saying the same thing. They were like, "Oh, they ruined Diablo 2 or something like that. They're just doing it for money." Warcraft 2 was better.
I suppose you could always have that argument, yeah. But I think it's definitely more apparent these days. Things are a bit rougher than back then. Like you can always sort of have that kind of conspiracy feeling, like, oh, yeah, it's just not as good anymore. Or, this has been implemented in like recent games to do this, and sort of pull money or force people to buy things that they wouldn't normally buy. But I'd say that's really only kicked in like with the late Hearthstone stages onwards. So 2015 onwards, Heroes of the Storm had a lot of skins and stuff like that. They really started to delve into DLC slash selling skins in game in the Heroes of the Storm slash Hearthstone era. And then they kind of perfected it with Overwatch. So much so that they made so much money that gave Overwatch so much attention that the loot boxes became a monumental issue and have actually been like banned in Belgium or whatnot. You know, I always kind of think, I know other games had like loot boxes, but I think Overwatch really, really brought them like to the forefront. Do you know what I mean? Like Blizzard was so successful with those loot boxes, people just paying so much money, like goodness knows how much money for the random chance to randomly get a skin that the random loot box could potentially have, rather than just straight up buying it. Like they made their money from that. Damn, they made their money from that.
I think I dropped $120 on Overwatch loot boxes in my
Did
life.
you?
I think so, yeah. I was younger.
It's a business expense now. That's all a business expense. Just open up an Overwatch channel and that's sorted.
Yeah.
Or make a video on
Open loot
Overwatch and you're
boxes.
sorted. It's
Yeah.
a worthy investment for the channel.
I never really thought about it like this, but now that I really look back, just because I never took it seriously, I mean, the collections, like the skins for Warcraft 3, and of course, I mean, everyone was saying this, but they were totally trying to like sell skins, and then they just never did.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
nobody's working on it.
I had like a funny notepad
Totally
where I
forgot
was
about that.
taking my viewers' ideas on what Blizzard were going to try to sell you. So they'd sell you sort of like an easier time versus a computer, all these kind of like really niche things that Warcraft 3 is known for. And yeah, skins, like an extra chance to get an easier opponent, or, you know, like more resources at the start of the game. Like there's so many sort of funny little things that Blizzard could implement that would work with Warcraft 3. It would tear it apart, but it would like people could pay for to make their Warcraft 3 experience easy. And I really thought they were going to do skins as well, especially with the Reforged graphics. They probably were planning that, right? But they just ran out of time. They just realized that they weren't going to be able to pull it off. So they just kind of like abandoned it and they just shipped it out and said, screw it. But I think you're right. I think they definitely were going to do it.
We were so close to having loot boxes.
I was expecting it. Get that Garifos skin. Finally, the epic Garifos skin.
They could have just ripped off Hive, taken all the models they owned, put them in loot boxes. People would be
They could have. Yeah. Why not? Blizzard own it, right? They could do it.
They've actually, some people on Hive have made some pretty good Reforged models since.
Yes. Yeah, I have seen some. It's admirable trying to make it work. You know, don't blame them. Like, you know, the Chronicles of the Second War again. They've done that. They've taken like the models from Reforged and they're given flavor to the original Warcraft 2 humans, the cool Terrace, Dalaran, all that. They have their own sort of like unique shield or emblem, talisman, you know, armor equipment. It's cool to see like that attention to detail. I can certainly appreciate. It's just the general Reforged look I'm just not a fan of.
I'm really not a fan of the tile set as somebody who like edits. Just because in order to not only is
Yeah.
that like it's weird, like the colors like contrast too much, and I think the tiles kind of blend more strangely. But you also have to
Yeah.
make a map specifically for Reforged in order for it to look nice. Like you can't
Yeah.
have that yeah, what were you saying?
Blend.
Abomination where you have classic
Right.
graphics players versus Reforged graphics players. It's kind of like either or.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Because it would just look so off for
Yeah.
one of them. Right. Yeah, I do. I agree with that. Yeah, it's the tile sets. I don't know. They just couldn't quite make that work, could they? It's so sharp or it's so contrasting. It's like it's visually, it's hard not to notice it. Even if these are supposed to be tile sets that sort of blend into the background and the player's not even really supposed to pay attention to it. You know what I mean? It's like you've put it there for them to appreciate. But when they're playing the game, they don't realize that they're appreciating it. However, Reforge makes that hard because nothing really blends. So it just looks really splodgy. Yeah, it's tough. Tough indeed.
So no Reforged peon model to replace.
Ugh, no. I didn't like that one. It looked way too grumpy and weird and old. Like this peon that you see is like
He looks happy.
so cute. Like it has this fun sort of like quirky, confused look. He just looks exactly how he should look. He's a peon. He's sort of like a bit bullied by the bigger orcs and stuff like that. He just does his work and hopes he doesn't get beaten at the end of the day. So it's fun. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, like this is a model I just pulled up
So
randomly. So people are still making like pretty legit
yeah,
models. So maybe in 2 years, if they do anything, you'll have the same. We'll have the same set of community-made models
there
to,
you go.
you know.
So this is why Warcraft 3's got longevity. It's because Reforged still got a long way to go before it's truly fixed. So you got years and years of content.
True.
Huh.
I do still want to, well, so when Reforged was coming out, I make this map. It's called War in the Plaguelands, and I was in preparation. I was starting to make War in the Plaguelands Reforged, as most people were something Reforged, and I had to
Hmm.
abandon it for every reason we talked about, because every reason we talked about. But I would love to one day make a map for Reforged. Still, that day is
Yeah,
not today though.
it's harder. Gotta have the motivation.
I
Gotta
just
have the
I don't think
faith
anyone would
that
play it.
it's
Or not many people.
yeah. It's you still can play it. Like it's still uh, people are still open to trying it out. I think it's just it's the whole meme over Reforge, refund, etc. You know, like it's just got such a bad stigma. It's a hard sell now. But like I say, like as much as I'm not a big fan of like the general aesthetic of the gritty, realistic look for Reforged, if the frame rate was there, I could at least enjoy it a lot more. Like if I have a good frame rate with the Reforged models and I don't feel like my game is sluggish or slow, I'll have a much more fun time playing Reforged. It's just you can't get to that point. It's very hard to get to that point.
Oh yeah, definitely. I run. I mean, it's excessive, but I have like 2 computers to play Warcraft 3 to get the maximum frame rate. So I stream on
Wow.
one and then I play on another. And
I always
that's
wanted to do like the stream on one, but I never worked it out.
yeah. I mean, the frame rate gain is marginal, but it does matter if you're playing
Yeah.
certain maps that have a lot of
Right.
units. But it doesn't even work for Reforged. Like if I play,
Right. I was thinking that.
Yeah.
You
But
might have
it's
to get a
kinda
third
ridiculous.
PC
Yeah, exactly.
just to handle the Reforged. Only for Reforged, no other games. Just Reforged. You just need this special PC. There's literally got a sticker on the side of it called Reforged.
State of the art.
It's just that. It's got a 3090 in it. All the new graphics are the latest graphics cards that have come out. I can just barely run it.
See, now I'm investigating and I'm like, man, people really are making Reforged models. Like at first I was just kind of hyping it up, but there's like somebody made up.
I thought it's just one crazy guy.
It might be, but he's
just
really
working
putting
really
in
hard.
work. There's rats in Reforged. All sorts of fun.
See, Reforged could work as like a dungeon crawler or something like that. You know, like
Yeah.
a sort of an RPG, because the models can have so much more complexity to them, and you can have more sort of like tilings and sort of walls, even walls. There's like they put more effort into the buildings and the walls, which was cool. So you can actually develop a more realistic world with Reforged for players to lose themselves in. But that's kind of it. Like I just think campaign and specific genres of custom games will work with Reforged. I don't think it belongs in Melee though, at all.
You're not a fan
I don't know
of
what Neo said about that.
Yeah, you're not a fan of
yeah,
all
I
the
don't
Back
think
to
it belongs.
Warcraft Reforged streams sponsored.
No, let him do what the heck he wants, you know?
Well, he doesn't want
Like
to do it.
well, yeah, but he obviously is obligated in certain aspects, isn't he,
Yeah.
to stream with those. I think it's more the Asian tournaments is they prefer to use like the Reforged for whatever reason, whether it's a marketing thing or not. Those are cute.
They made rats.
Apart from the ones that have got like Banelin balls on the back, that's not so nice. They're a little bit dirty. Might want to stay away from those rats. They've hung out in the sewers for way too long.
And there's actually WoW rips too. I've recently let you post World of Warcraft rips. The potential is there for the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, Holy War has Yogg Saron in it. And I think that's like the model from World of Warcraft, the Yogg Saron one, which is really awesome to see. I remember when I played Starcraft 2 custom game way back, and there was a full-blown Alexstrasza model, like the big red dragon. And it was exactly how she looks like in World of Warcraft. I was like, wow, that looks awesome. This is like StarCraft 2, normally got Zerglings and human marines and stuff, but then there's this like big dragon that just looks fantastic. But I think they don't like that happening or something. There's supposed to be some sort of rule where you're not really supposed to do that, at least in StarCraft 2. I don't know about Warcraft 3. But, you know, take the models from World of Warcraft and put them in, etc.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to notice.
Well, they do, because everything belongs to Blizzard. So it gets back to them one way or another. That one intern guy has to try all the custom games and report about each of these models in these custom games. He hasn't slept.
I think they should be doing that. I mean, obviously, but I'm like, Blizzard, come on, just like get one intern, have them comb through the custom games, and figure out which ones are good. Boom, you have your new mobile game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a journey you could go on, right? You could make like a series of it, exploring the next Blizzard game from Warcraft 3. And you could adventure for all these custom games. You could give them like a score. You could call them trash, or they have potential, and work out what you like about them, which aspects of them can actually transfer over. You might like one thing particularly that really would work in a custom game, but it works better with this other one, so you can blend them, and then maybe you get an amalgamation to create the perfect Blizzard. And then you can go to Blizzard and you say, hey, I got this idea for this new game. And they'll say, all right, mate, thanks. Here's a tenner. See you later.
And it's called Pig Escape
And that'll basically be it.
or Escape the Pig.
Pig Escape? No. Here, it's my map. They own it, though. It's not my map. It wasn't my map the moment I made it. The moment I created the first model, I put the first model on the map and saved it and pressed save. That was it. It went into the Blizzard folders. I signed away my rights.
Witty was not doing Warcraft 3. Are you an assassin by night?
Me?
Or I guess what's your dream job? I think that's what he's.
I think it's almost already been answered.
Oh yeah,
It
voice
would
acting.
probably be voice acting. If I wasn't doing what I was doing now, I would push for voice acting a lot harder because I'd have more time to do it.
I think
I'd have
you
more
could
spare
still
time to
voice
actually
act.
research. I think I could, but I'm just so lazy. I'm just I'm a very much a gamer. Like I want to do, like, I do my bits. I feel like in my head, right, you've done your sort of your work in quotation marks. Now spend the rest of your free time just playing video games. It's just easier to do that, and it has been. I've got better with age of controlling and maintaining my life, because way back, like in my 20s, I was like a heroin addict when it came to World of Warcraft. I would literally just play that from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to work. And I had a job when I was doing World of Warcraft where the faster you work, the faster you go home. It was one of those jobs where you can actually finish your workload. So I would be doing like 3-4 hour days, which should be like 4 or 5 hour days, because I was working like a nutter to just get out of work as quick as possible to just get more, that 1 extra hour, that 2 extra hours on World of Warcraft, and I'll just play through to the evening. And I was a slob, filthy. I used to have my plates of dinner and I'd just put them in the cupboard. I wouldn't take them downstairs. Now I wouldn't dare do that. Downstairs, I'll take them downstairs, I'll wash them up, I'll make sure everything's clean and tidy. I'm far more organized these days, but back then I would stick them in the cupboard. They'd have mushrooms growing on them. I'm not kidding. It was filthy. Those are bad times, man. They were the best of times, they were the worst of times.
Do you know who Alexandros Migraine is?
Bograin?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft character, isn't it?
I'm at some point I'm working on making a trailer for my map, and I was gonna like my one friend, he's I guess an aspiring voice actor. He was gonna help like voice the Lich King. Like I just sent you one of his like roughs. Would you, if I sent you like 3 lines or something, would you be Alexandros Migraine?
I could certainly try it.
Oh,
Need a bit of direction as to what you're looking for.
Pretty easy, you
He's
know.
good.
Just purge the undead with a very. Here, I'll play this on stream. I send it to you. This is like what he put together for the Lich King. I thought it's pretty good.
Send them in to die.
Not perfect, but
Their lives are meaningless. But yours. How simple it was to draw the great Tyrian fortring out of hiding. You left yourself exposed, Paladin. Nothing will save you.
I thought it was pretty good. When he sent it to me.
His throat must be well sore after that. See, I couldn't do those kind of voices. Like I could do it like a brief moment, and then my voice just like super sore for like the entire day. I'm better at doing like a higher voice actors or sort of like a silly voices, I guess, to a degree. Certain voices I can do, and they just don't destroy my voice box. But if I had to do like a really deep, throaty kind of voice, I don't think I can pull it off. It's really hard. Like you have to sort of almost have a natural kind of like deepness to your voice to reach those levels. Unless you use some sort of like voice synthesizer thing, but I don't use anything like that.
Do you have any
I
like
always wanted to get something like that.
on command characters? I know you said you're bad on command, but
I
can you do
am.
Frodo?
I guess Frodo. I can't really. I don't think so. But I would normally sort of do like my impression of a backseat guy. Oh, what are you doing, Witty? Why are you doing this? You should go over there. Oh, I can't believe he's done this. This is ridiculous. I can't watch this anymore. But I'm still watching. I'm still complaining. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about it. It's like, that's my voice of people that watch. And like, that's my impression of them. Obviously, none of them sound like that. But I like to do sort of exaggerated voices more than anything else.
Dude, that was great.
It's just kind of silly. I grew up watching a lot of cartoons, as most people did, but I especially watched The Simpsons and Futurama. And obviously, sort of like, I just sort of loved all the bit characters they also had, as well as the main characters. And they'd always, none of them really sounded like normal people. They're always just kind of a little bit over the top, a little bit eccentric, a little bit exaggerated. And it always rubbed off on me. And yeah, I think that's where my aspirations from the voice acting came from. Is growing up with that and kind of wanting to do the same sort of thing.
There's this I guess cartoonist who has this series called Damo and Darren. You just hit it on the. That was like very close to how they speak, but more Australian.
All right.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I've done when I did custom campaigns. Sometimes do voices for the characters, but they'd always be like silly ones, like sort of like stereotypes of like Indian or like Scottish or Irish. So like the exaggerated leprechaun. Oh, to be sure, to tie, to tie. So they don't sound like that, obviously, but you just sort of go ham on it and just go ridiculous. It's sort of like quite fun, but to do like serious voice acting is kind of tough, I guess, because you have to really sort of pronunciate and correctly try to. I mean, it's hard because I can't even talk properly. Like I still can't even say free. I don't know why.
You can't say
I
free?
think it's my accent. I don't know. Free. People always take the piss out of me. They think I'm, I say Warcraft free, the frozen throne.
Oh.
And everyone just says with the F instead of I can't pronounce TH properly. Frozen throne. But it's hard to do. Like I have to put extra effort in just to sort of like really get that across.
How would you say THYROID?
What, thyroid? What is it?
Yeah.
TH.
You're right. Thyroid.
I like in my head, I think I'm saying, but at the same time, I know I'm not saying it right. I mean, people always like to take the mick. So, like, that will be like half my YouTube comments in some cases. It's just people literally typing Warcraft 3, the frozen throne, but every single word is starting with an F. Like the throne bit as well. It's like an F, everything's F. 33. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm just saying F when I say 33. If I really wanted to, I have to 33. Like, I have to really try.
So this is a skit in itself. This is what you gotta put up.
Yeah, well, people like to point out what you do incorrectly, and you don't always realize it. I just blame it on my accent or how I grew up learning how to pronounce certain words. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault.
Always is.
Yeah.
Word. Well, I don't know if it's getting late where you are. I don't want to keep you up or anything.
I don't know. There's a couple more topics you want to talk about. That's fine, but otherwise, I will need to crack on with moving that level character on World of Warcraft, as well as making my bed. I did the sheets earlier, so I washed the sheets, but I haven't actually put them on my bed yet. I've made that mistake before where I've playing video games for too long. I do one of these days where I sort of like wash my sheets, etc. and then I finish up really late, and I go, okay, time to go to bed. Turn the computer off, and I'm like, oh, I gotta make my bed. It's not even a big job, but after you've like exhausted yourself playing video games, you're just like, I can't even be bothered to put some sheets on the bed. So yeah, it's a few bits to do. Maintenance. There's always maintenance to do. That's my life practically. My OCD life. Just keeping on top of things.
I feel like I'm reading that you're living like the life every gamer would want to live, but at the same time, it's only because of your diligence, duty, your OCD.
Yeah, my OCD is responsible for a lot of things I sort of accomplished or achieved in a way. It's a blend of OCD / competitiveness, and I can force myself to do things that I shouldn't normally do or shouldn't really be capable of doing. Like I'll get back into fitness again soon. I'm going to plan to do that at the start of next year, and I'm the kind of person that if I wanted to, I can just fucking go fucking nuts and just push myself and really force myself to do it, because I kind of like it's almost like force myself in the back of my head. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure everyone has it, but it's just sort of I won't let myself stop if I want to do it. If I want it to happen, I will push it. But because I'm also a gamer, in general, I just always take the easy road and I just waste time playing games. Such a beauty. Don't think that's going to stop at any point soon. In the future, we'll be playing games with our minds. So when I get too slow with my fingers, I'll just be staring at the screen, making things move. I always was waiting for that to happen, but that hasn't come around yet. I don't think it's going to come around for a while. But I figure that that could probably be what video games might be one day. Is you will literally be able to just make things happen on the screen with thinking about it. If you'd have to obviously wear some sort of device to sort of like transfer that information over what you're intending. If you wanted to move a grunt forward or move a grunt back, you just look at it and then pull it back, sort of thing, rather than even have to use your mouse or your keyboard.
I was talking to
But we might be
somebody
talking like many years.
who was saying that Elon Musk was like talking about this as like some reality in like 40 years. Elon Musk was like, we'll all be communicating with our brain, like this podcast, whatever. I gotta look this up now. I'm like onto something.
Well, we're going to get hardwired, aren't we? We'll eventually become cyborgs, I think. I mean, we're obviously pushing technology to the point where we're just blending with it naturally anyway. People are on their phones like 24/7. It's just one step away from having the phone inside of your head, isn't it, really? Just haven't got to that point yet. But if people could do it, they probably would.
I'm curious.
Black Mirror. Have you ever seen Black Mirror episodes? They're a really good inspiration for basically what's kind of likely to happen.
Oh yeah, I love
in
Black
a sort
Mirror.
of dark way.
I'm curious if you have like, because I feel like everybody has, as you mentioned, you know, connect to the phones, whatever. Everyone has their notification addiction. Like some people might be addicted to their Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Like I usually go between Discord and YouTube. That's what I'm addicted to.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like recently I've been posting on TikTok and I just check the TikTok way too much. Like I don't do well on TikTok, but I'm just so fascinated by it. Do you have any like what is your brain tune into?
It's not social media for me. I'm a
Not social
generation
media.
ahead on that. So I'm slightly detached from it. Like I think if I was like, say for example, another 5 to 10 years younger or something, I would be a lot more into Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But I can barely be bothered with Twitter. Facebook's like dead to me. Like people are like, oh, have you got an Instagram account? People want me to get an OnlyFans account.
I
think I'm
saw
getting one
that
of those just
comment.
yet.
No, don't do
Yeah.
it. It's
But there's always another social media platform. It's just like, if you're young enough, you probably don't mind. You actually look forward to actually creating an account and playing with it. But for someone like me, I just think that's a headache. I just think that's something I don't want to have to maintain. That's not another thing on top of things I'm already maintaining that I want to have to keep a check on. So I'm definitely detached in that aspect.
I mean, you know the premise of
So
OnlyFans, though, right?
yeah,
I feel like that guy might have been.
gonna need some pretty dedicated viewers to want that. I'll tell you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start working out. Like, you
Definitely.
could do it next year.
I'm pretty sure. Does OnlyFans have to be sexual? Is it possible to have an OnlyFans account that isn't sexual in some way?
I guess, yeah. But yeah, you're right. They'd have to be really dedicated viewers
Yeah.
to just pay
Like,
for.
is there any OnlyFans accounts for like board games or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Or something just very simple, like drawing. But then again, the drawing would be like some really rude stuff or whatever. Like it's
Oh,
yeah,
apparently
it's just
it used to be for
scary world.
chefs, for recipes.
Oh, that's kind of a good idea. Yeah, that could work. But then maybe you have to be naked whilst you're cooking. So it always comes back to that. If you really want to hit the OnlyFans money.
I don't know. Ever since I started streaming first. I actually kind of didn't even start with Warcraft 3. I actually started streaming Underlords, that like the auto chess, and I was like convinced auto chess was it at this time. And
That
I
was
was
good.
like high elo whatever, and then it just died.
Mm,
TFT I think
yeah.
is still doing all right.
Yeah, I think I was biased towards TFT because I always played League of Legends over Dota 2. But I honestly thought the Underlords one was really good.
I liked
If
it
the
too.
Underlords one was team fight tactics, sorry, if the Underlords was the League of Legends units and stuff like that, I probably would have played that one over the team fight tactics. But they're both really good. I appreciate it for what they are. I still think it's like a really cool game that can still do really well, like that auto battler thing. I don't see why it can't do well. You know?
Yeah, I think it's an untapped genre. Pokemon Legends is probably the next Pokemon auto battler. 100p.
Ain't got enough, ain't they?
Actually, why don't they do that? Wait a second.
Nintendo aren't always the best at sort of like
That's-
capitalizing on their own sort of opportunities, so to speak. They're a bit sort of, I think, slow when it comes to creating and designing. But they're still so popular that they do well. But yeah, they have been a bit. What would you say? Sort of like not as connected to what the feedback from the fans are, from what they want. They're almost a bit like Blizzard in that aspect. Sort of like they got their own mindset of a way of doing things. Like they might say they listen, but they don't. Like they're doing what they're doing, and it is what it is. You're gonna like it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but anyway, so I started streaming, and then I got into the YouTube much later in Warcraft 3, which I regret. I wish, if I was smart, I would have been making YouTube videos before Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, and then I would have like gotten all these hits from like Warcraft 3 Reforged. But I started like after, and
Yeah, there's some YouTube channels that just sort of came out of nowhere and started doing really well. I felt like I missed a bit of an opportunity there as well to sort of exploit more comparison stuff. I didn't really go down that road,
really,
but there's definitely some opportunities with the Reforged. It certainly was getting a lot of hits, like you say, a lot of popularity. Sort of in the late 2018 sort of stage, I would say, when it really started to peak, because that's when it's getting closer to the game sort of being released. And wow, even just trailers or just people showing some in-game cinematics would be getting like several 100,000 views. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's all. You're always going to sort of feel that way, though. Hindsight, in it, you know. So I think the same sort of way. Like originally, when I started my YouTube channel, I was also pressured into getting a job because I technically left my job beforehand and I've been unemployed for a year. And I had 2 rows to go down, but my dad was so pushy, so fucking pushy. So I had to be in employment. I had to be doing a job, even if it was a shit job. So the job I was doing was basically a shit job. It's just I just joined an agency just to get into a job. I didn't want to do the job, but I had to do it. But I always wished that I didn't get that job. And then I really just went hard on the YouTube because that was when I created the channel. But at the point, I was doing that job for 5 years, and I was building the channel in my spare time after finishing work. Whereas if I just spent all of my time like not working at the work and doing the YouTube, I could have, you know, possibly grown a lot quicker, a lot faster, or, you know, got there sort of like when YouTube was really starting to pick up back then in the early StarCraft 2 days. So it is what it is. Like, you're always going to kind of have these regrets, but it is what it is. Like, life is just how it rolls. So that's for when you get reincarnated and the universe expires and then employs
next
itself and you're
PewDiePie.
back again in the same. Yeah, you just got to sort of like tell yourself, your future self from another universe, what to do.
I definitely learned because I've tried everything because I used to do photography, so I tried Instagram, whatever. I think YouTube is the
That's
most
cool.
taxing, like, platform or whatever in terms of it takes the most time to be like creating content for it, continuing to create content for it, like engage in it, like all that. I think it's rewarding. I mean,
I find it such a pain to create the tags and all of that. Like, yeah, it's a lot of work that you have to put in just for each video. So it's I haven't got much experience doing many other platforms though and creating content for them. So I kind of just used to it with YouTube, but I definitely take what you're saying as, you know, fact that, you know, like YouTube does make it kind of harder for you to just create content, put it up, get it done, sort of thing. You can obviously do that with YouTube, but it's just, yeah, it feels like you've got to go through a bunch of hoops. And when you're putting these tags in, are you actually hitting the right audience, or just whatever, just throw a bunch of tags in that are somewhat relative to the game? Is YouTube even taking it seriously? Like, there's been times where I put a YouTube video up and I put like almost no tags on it, and it's done better than any other video that I've put up with a whole bunch of tags saying survival, defense, etc., etc., etc. It's like, does this even matter? Does this even work? Like, it feels a bit frustrating having to put this time and effort in the description and the links, etc. Does it even make a difference? So yeah, it's my gripe.
I saw about the thumbnail. That's what I learned. I feel like that's what everyone knows, but I mean the tags matter for sure. But you gotta have that juicy female blood
Yeah,
elf.
I need to do more of that. I almost started putting like my face in some of the thumbnails. I think that actually, whether you like doing that or not, I think that honestly would make a big difference. Even if you don't even look good, it's just something that draws the eye, and it's something that humanizes you, I suppose, as opposed to just a static picture of something.
I mean, I can tell you
So
that
it's,
I clicked one of your videos a while ago where it was like future of the channel. I think I only clicked it
yeah.
because your face was on it.
Yeah, I think there's like that instinct almost just to sort of, it's a like a relatableness to it if you can actually see a human face in the picture somewhere. Like, I've never normally done that, but I think you have to adapt a little bit. I haven't quite gone down the road where I'm putting a red circle over things. I have done it on a couple of videos for fun, but not every single video has that yet. You'll see there are some YouTube channels, right? If you look at their whole list of videos, each video it'll have like drama, subject, text, and image with red circle around, arrow pointed to.
Oh, is that
Like, and
important?
that is,
I see you
what's
have
that?
this on Are You a Lucker?
Oh yes, exactly. That was one of the recent ones I done it on.
Is that a scam that everyone should be
Scamaz.
doing?
It is a Scamaz because there's actually a priestess of the moon ahead of that rabbit that's clipped off. But that rabbit is part of the video. So I'll always try to make the thumbnail related to what happens in the video. So when I used to create like the 4 versus 4 RT thumbnails, and there'd be sort of like weird scenarios of a grunt sitting on a barrel that looks like it's about to blow up because it's an explosive barrel, and there's like that, what's it called, gunpowder, yeah, that's it, and he doesn't know, he's just chugging a beer or whatever while sitting on this barrel, but it's actually an explosive barrel and there's a fire set to the gunpowder. Like, this is like a theme behind a lot of my thumbnails, and that rabbit is a big part of how that Are You a Lucker video plays out. Is the rabbit basically almost always seems to win. Like, it's the highlight of that part, I would say. So I always try to focus on what it is that is actually relative So I don't clickbait to the nth degree where I will literally just show something that has nothing to do with the video. It will still always be focused in some way, related in some way. Whether people actually pick up on that or not, or it goes completely unnoticed, I'm not sure. I don't always get too much feedback in that regard. But for me, in my head, like I do it that way because it satisfies me.
I think you need more female blood elves, personally. Just every thumbnail. An orc face chopped on.
That's what we got the Reforged graphics for as well, so we can enhance the boobs. Get more detail. Get those Hive guys to work on more female models then, and really go to town. Like the skimpiest outfits. We're talking like 1980s style, where they'd only wear like a bra and knickers and go into like combat. That's the way to go.
They're definitely out there. I haven't.
But then again,
seen
YouTube
them.
might demonetize your channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Might pick up it's 2020 now. Can't get away with that so much. I think YouTube can even detect when you're saying certain words. I'm not sure, but you might want to not swear in like the first 15 seconds. I have no idea.
That's what
like
I've
I'm not
heard.
really, I'm not one of these people that does like research and all that analytics and stuff like that. I've always, again, like just created what I created, just put it up as I put it up. I'm sure I could do a much better job marketing myself and growing the channel. You know, what is it? Not marketing. What's it called when you like mingle with others and stuff to sort of like networking. That's the word I'm looking for. Like I never really go out networking. Yeah, never go out of my way to do that. Like I just do what I do, and it is what it is. And I've been lucky enough to get away with that for the most part. Just get by doing it. So fortunate in that aspect. So yeah, I'm really grateful to be in that kind of position. Like it is actually like a real luxury. Because I need to remind myself from time to time when I do streams. Like sometimes I have a bad day or I have a bad stream. I don't have them so much though these days. The bad streams, maybe because I do less melee now. But I got to sort of like remind myself that I'm not getting up and I'm not going to like an office or whatever. I'm not going to a warehouse. I'm literally just getting up and I'm playing video games for my living. So could be making a lot more, you know, could be surviving, could really be doing well, like real comfortable, but I'm doing enough to get by. So that's good enough.
You can blame Blizzard for that second one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, Blizzard Reforged was supposed to make me a millionaire.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Exactly.
I have my whole channel dedicated to Warcraft 3. This was it. This is the big time. Oh dear. I'll just have to get big on their next mobile game. I'll make a dedicated channel to Diablo Immortal.
Good,
sorted. I already have an idea for a video on Diablo Immortal. It was going to be something along the lines of how long can you play for before you have to buy something? You know, something along those lines. Before you're really, really pressured into buying something to actually do well in like a mobile game. Like Diablo Immortal or whatnot. I went 14 weeks before I had to buy a experience boost.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet.
No, man, they kept that one back. That was released, what, 2018 BlizzCon? And the game looked, you know, pretty finished. It's basically a copy of another game, like NetEase or whatever, basically implemented another game that they put Diablo assets into it. So it's kind of done, to be honest, but they are really holding it back for as long as possible because they're basically hoping like all the negative press on it just really dies off before they obviously release it. Maybe they'll wait till Diablo 4 comes out before they release it. Because then people can't complain. Because it'd be like, well, if you don't want your mobile, you got Diablo 4. That was the whole issue with 2018. Is people thought they were getting Diablo 4 and they got Diablo Immortal. If they gave you both, then you can be like, well, I hate mobile games. Mobile games are shitty or whatever. But I am satisfied with the Diablo 4 for PC, so I can't complain. So that might be what they're holding out for.
mean, I feel so scuffed. I mean, it's obvious, but we have Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2, Diablo
Oh,
3, Diablo 4, Diablo Immortal.
mm,
No
my
Warcraft
favorite.
4, just Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yeah, Warcraft 3.5. My favorite meme about the Overwatch 2 thing was someone showing their desktop and they copy and pasted Overwatch. So it showed another symbol of Overwatch and it had that text underneath it saying Overwatch and then in brackets 2. And then this guy with his mind blown. Because that's kind of what it is. It's just basically Overwatch, except they've revamped the graphics, made it a bit sharper, etc. So it's honestly more of a remaster than it is actually a second game or a sequel. But that's kind of just where Blizzard seem to be at the moment.
That's
I still got
that's
some
the
hopes
video
for
you need to
Diablo
make.
4.
Cash in.
Sorry.
That's the video you need to make to cash in.
Oh right, yeah.
You gotta get on
Oh,
Overwatch
absolutely.
2, like everybody got on Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Force Gaming did really good. I don't know if you watch his YouTube channel, but he had a really good thing with Overwatch, but he couldn't like he's not the kind of guy that seems to, or he at least doesn't come across the kind of guy that sort of like likes to sell out, etc. He seems to be quite down to earth and straight about himself, and he couldn't do the Overwatch thing forever. But he was making these YouTube videos about Overwatch, right? And he had this sort of probably a year-long spree almost of all these things. Here's the hero you need to play, or this is what's coming out, and all these videos getting hundreds of thousands of views, crazy amounts of views, because Overwatch was just so hyped back then. But he eventually sort of got so sick of it, I think, that he just, even though he could have continued getting all those views and making more and more Overwatch videos, he just had to stop. And that's it. You can't keep doing something you don't enjoy. It's easier to do that if you've kind of got no morals, or like you got less of a conscience about it. But most people will feel like they're just really not enjoying it, and they have to be honest to themselves and say, look, I'd rather make videos about this, even if it doesn't even make close to the amount of views. But I don't want to make Overwatch 2 videos, really.
Yeah, I was
don't
kind of
want to do
kidding.
that. Diablo 4, I wouldn't mind. I could see myself putting a lot more effort doing some Diablo 4 videos for the Witty 1 channel. That's more my boat, more my flavor. But luckily, I've got some time before I have to bother doing any of that, so I can still be lazy. But now it's all about being lazy. All right, I've got to get cracking now. I've got to get moving, I'm afraid.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on. This is illuminating.
Oh no, there's that word.
There's that word.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me once again. And thanks everyone for watching. Keep up the love for the Warcraft, and have a great one.
Cheers. Good luck
All
in
the best.
leveling.
Thank you, man. Take care.